Okay, so just getting the last bits and pieces ready for Mr. Osman. So I'm going to send him the link over now that I have the link. And what have I done with it? Shit. I had the thing open before. I'm going to have to reopen my chat window. All right, so hotmail.com. And then... Shit, I need... I appear to have lost Tim's email address. That's a bit of a shitter. Yes, that is a bit of a shitter. Bear with me, I'll have to go back to Ice's chat, because that's where he was. How do I get back in touch with Tim quickly? That was it, Cal Logic. Alright, so new paste. Right, so I've got his email. Right, so we're halfway there now. So I just need that, copying. And I need to send it to there. Paste. Send. Alright, so Tim now has his link. So I can minimize that. I can get rid of that. Get rid of that. I should just be left with that mail, which would be there. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Yep. Now I'm just going to pop out the chat, and then I should be ready to go. And then there we go, chat's popped out. Okay, so I'm now ready for the Tim Meister to turn up. He should be here any sec. Whilst I'm waiting for Tim, I'll go and get myself a quick drink. So give me 2 minutes, but we're good to go. Yeah, I was flustered because I couldn't find his email address. He sent it and then I copied it into clipboard and then accidentally overwritten it with something else and then forgot. So Tim will be back in a minute. I'll be back too. All right. I am good to go. So there's no sign of the Tim Meister yet. I'm going to get myself comfortable. Okay, he's 8 minutes. I'm 8 minutes early yet. He's not ready. He's not really due yet. Tim is not here yet. He was in Ice's chat 10 minutes ago and he was asking, are we still on? And I was like, yeah, I'll send you a link. What email address do you want to send it to? He gave me the email address. I've sent it to the relevant link. It's waiting now. Should be here in a minute. He knows it's ready to go. So I see, if there's any English people in the chat, I see that the Hillsborough people that were involved in the Hillsborough disaster, Duckenfield, Norman Betterson, they've all been charged with criminal acts. Whilst I'm waiting for Tim to come in, I'm actually going to read the news. Sky.com /news. Away and Sky they're not even covering it. All right, so let's go with Hillsborough news. Okay, so the news is that 6 people, including David Duckenfield, have been charged. Norman Betterson charged with misconduct, which is really weird, actually. So I want to show you guys something. Now, I'm gonna put a link in the chat. Would you all kindly click on the link? Follow the link, and you'll see 2 pictures on the front page. You got a guy on the left called Duckenfield, and a guy on the right called Betterson. That's me with the bloke that's been charged over his actions over the Hillsborough disaster. So I've kept this photo because at the time I had respect for the guy. Now I realise that he was the press agent responsible for what went on with the press releases from the Hillsborough disaster, and I realised that guy is, well, scum, essentially. Although at the time he did what he did, I don't believe that he knew that he was lying. I believe that Thatcher was the only one that knew. Anyway, so Norman Betterson. Shocking. I hope they prosecute all 6 of the fuckers. Who are they? So they've actually been charged. Duckenfield, Betterson, Graham Mackerel, the Sheffield Wednesday chief exec and officially designated safety officer, has been charged with breaching the terms of the ground safety certificate. They didn't even have a safety certificate. It was taken off them. That can't be the case. And failing to take reasonable care under the Health and Safety at Work Act. All three other men, all charged with doing acts with intent to pervert the course of justice. I think there was more people than 6 that were intending to pervert the course of justice. I'm amazed that they've actually done this, but Thatcher should have been done because she was the one that was the dishonest criminal. Betterson is accused of having lied about his own involvement within South Yorkshire Police after the disaster, including describing his roles as peripheral to Sir David Dowd, the then Chief Inspector of Constabulary, when he applied to be the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police back in 1998. That's where I met him, in Merseyside Police. Betterson is also charged with lying in a subsequent statement to the Merseyside Police Authority that he had never attempted to shift blame onto the shoulders of the Liverpool supporters. No, but you were the press release officer and you were the one that told them told the press all the stories. what the fuck's he on about? He's gonna go to jail. I hope he goes to jail. Bettison said that he was disappointed to be charged and would vigorously defend his innocence. I don't think you can, dude. The charge is not in relation to my actions around the time of the disaster, but in relation to comments I made years afterwards. I would vigorously defend my innocence, as I have been doing for nearly 5 years. Yeah, people died, dickhead, and you told the newspapers that it was fans that were responsible, and they weren't. Hey, Flat Music. Tim is due in 2 minutes. So whilst Tim's getting himself in here, yeah, Kettle Logic 17. That's the one I sent it to. Let's just double check that. Shut up. Sent items. Yeah, kettlelogic17@gmail.com. Kettlelogic17@gmail.com. Yeah, Twitwit, my beard grows faster than my hair. Got some greys in here now, though. Anthony, for us in the States, can you catch us up on the disaster? It was the FA Cup, which is the Football Association Cup. It's the most prestigious football match or football competition in English football. And if you win that, you're considered to be one of the best teams in the country. It was the semi-final, and Liverpool were playing Nottingham Forest in the Sheffield Wednesday Stadium. Basically, was it Sheffield? I can't even remember who they were playing. Liverpool were playing in the Sheffield Wednesday Stadium, and they were playing. I can't even remember who they were playing. It was. No one remembers anything about the football. They just remember that everybody. Basically, what happened was there was a shitload of fans. The stadium was picked for a semi-final, and it didn't have a big enough capacity. It had no safety certificate that was revoked the year before, and essentially there were far too many fans because back in them days you used to be able to turn up without a ticket, and you could get in. You just had to pay. So essentially you could turn up, pay, and go in. But the stadium was nowhere near big enough. It didn't have a safety certificate. It shouldn't have held the venue for an FA Cup semi-final. Yeah, it was Notts Forest. No one remembers anything about the game. They just remember what happened. Anyway, so all the fans were congregating outside. No, the stands didn't collapse. They had massive gates, and they were keeping the fans out, but there were that many fans inside the back. The gates that were holding the fans out, they had so many fans on the other side of the gate because it was the wrong stadium, and it had no safety certificate because it wasn't suitable. Somebody decided to open the gates, so all the fans spilled into the stadium, and basically the inside of they were called pens, the fences on the inside of the stadium for the people that had a proper ticket, that had paid to go there, that weren't drunk, that hadn't done anything wrong. They got squashed from the back, so the weight of people pushing forwards killed the people that were squashed up against the fences at the front, and they couldn't get out. 96 people died. Well, it was 95 died very short after. There was one guy, the 96th, a guy called Tony Bland. He died about 9 months after the incident. He kind of died there and then. He was kept artificially alive on machines and tubes and stuff like that, and it was fucking horrendous. It was the worst footballing disaster, the world's worst sporting disaster in English history, and it's never been happened since. They stopped terraces after that, and serious shit happened after that, but all the police were acting under Margaret Thatcher's orders to hide it and blame the fans, and that's exactly what happened, and it was unbelievable. Thatcher died a saint. She was given a state burial, and the bitch deserved to burn, not fucking be buried. Tim.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for turning up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for holding this congregation of sorts, I suppose.
So I'm a bit curious. To what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, I give the benefit of the doubt to everybody, and I have pretty much talked to them all. And, there's a lot of observable evidence, empirical evidence I could go through, but a lot of what I would like to chat with you about is actually how you logically can reason with this idea and pitch it so vehemently. So really the question being, what evidence is most compelling to you that the Earth is flat?
All right, so you've asked a question there with two parts to it. Logically, how do I logically reason with this? Honestly, logically, I don't. I struggle with it badly because logically, everybody believes that we live on a ball. Everybody thinks that we live on a ball. Everybody was taught we live on a ball. So from a logical standpoint, it's illogical because nobody agrees with you in essence. But evidentially speaking, the three things that I focus my attention on: rotation, curvature, gravity. Now, the two of the things, gravity and axial rotation, they're not things that you can easily prove because gravity really relies on you being in space to play with, and axial rotation, it's that slow that relatively speaking we're not moving. So how do you measure something that relatively speaking we are stationary on? So that's not easy to do, and I don't believe any ball earther or flat earther without shitloads of money has got any experiment, any apparatus that we could test whether this is true or not. But then then we're left with curve. So of the three main claims that I focus my attention on, curvature of the Earth is the one that's the easiest to deal with, because when you do the maths, you work out that 24,900 miles worth of circumference, divide that by 12 gives you half of it, and then divide it again gives you a quarter of it. And when you work it down, you can reduce it down to the point where you realize, I can test this. Now, the reality is, when you start thinking the possibility that we could test the curvature of the Earth, we end up in a position where you end up looking for, well, what should the curve be? And obviously, you are familiar with my attack recently on Mick West, I'm presuming.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've heard it on multiple shows. Yeah.
So when you use his Metabunk website, it gives you an idea of what you're meant to expect. I'll be honest, for 12 months I've been fucking around with it and I've had really weird results. And it's got to the point where I've had to question what the standard refraction thing is, because it doesn't seem to make any evidential sense when you do it more than just one occasion. And I've been doing it with Ranty Rants, and we've both been putting together our information to see what information we can achieve. But essentially what we realized is that we would have to do some work at nighttime, because the atmosphere fucks with what we see by day and you get inconclusive results. So we went back to different observation points at nighttime to see what we could get. And when I pushed the boat out from my 30-mile observation, I realized that at nighttime we're seeing some serious shit. Now, the stuff we're seeing at nighttime can't be explained with standard refraction because it goes way beyond the standard refraction limits. It can't be explained with magic refraction, like superior or special refraction, because it goes beyond them too. So I was in the position where I thought, well, we can test the curve of the Earth, but when we do test it, if we do the observation at night, the one constant that you would expect to see is the curve of the Earth, and it should be the same by night as it should be by day. The only difference would be that the atmosphere by night will be less, so you should see less distortion of what we actually see.
Are you saying that you have evidence that shows what would look like curvature during the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you have conflicting evidence, and how many evidences do you have? How many videos of this do you have?
Well, it's that the conflicting evidence arose from the application of the Metabunk website, and it got to the point where it was so contradictory that I contacted Mick and I asked him, what was the authority for this standard refraction? Because I'm not even seeing the curve of the Earth before refraction, but there's a calculation to adjust for this standard refraction, and when you calculate it based on the Metabunk website, it's still miles out. And Mick was like, well, and then Mick gave his reasons for it, and I took a month to play with that. I didn't knee-jerk. I researched what he said, and I didn't find evidence that supported his assertion. And his assertion was essentially that the stars appear to slow down when they get to the horizon. Now, my perception on that was that literally the stars don't do anything at the horizon other than get bleached out by light pollution. So I was unable to find any evidence to support that. So I didn't know whether his evidence was very minuscule in observation, or whether it was in fact significant because of where he was in the world. So I asked him to prove it, and I did it nicely, and he showed it me. He gave me his answers, and he showed me what authority it was. So I looked into that, and I started to read what he claimed to be the evidence for standard refraction, and I realized that he's doing stuff that's not actually based on science. He's doing it based on something else.
Yeah, and truthfully, I really don't want to get into Mick West at all, because he's no authority to me. He's no authority to the globe Earth. He's no authority at all. So when you continue to make thumbnails in what looks like paint and put liar and fraud and all this stuff on there, it's not proving anything to anyone besides, really kind of your childishness, in my opinion. But anyway, you say that there's, no evidence of axial movement. And, it brings up the question to me, do you understand that there are two celestial points on this Earth?
We're not moving off Mick West at this point. We can come back to this celestial point.
I actually don't want to talk about Mick West, because that whatever you guys got going is between you guys. I wanted to come on and talk to you about your logic and why you believe the Earth is flat with basically what I would call inductive logic and reasoning. You're not being deductive about it because you're not taking in other evidence like the sky and things like the sun setting at all. You're just going off of a few observations, and that's the definition of inductive logic or abductive logic, if you want to look into that.
Well, you started off by asking me what was my logical reasoning for, and I said there is no logic for it. And then we moved on to the evidence, which now you don't want to talk about. So now I'm left with...
No. Mick West is not evidence to me, Okay, you're using him as some kind of authority for the sphere, and he's not to me. Okay, this is Mick West is obviously a mainstream cuck that is going to say that no conspiracies ever happened, and you bring him into the conspiracy crowd where it's like he doesn't have any credibility anyway. What are you doing? Okay,
Well,
so there are other pertinent questions that need to be resolved in the flat Earth, such as equinoxes and angular diameter and such.
All right, so we can still deal with the evidence without dealing with Mick West.
Yeah, but you're saying that you have conflicting evidence, first of all, and you have some kind of hypothesis that either the Earth is the size of Jupiter or the Earth is flat during the nighttime and not during the daytime. So are we talking science here, or are we talking your inductive brand of ridiculousness?
No, we're talking evidence and the interpretation of the evidence.
Okay, but is there zero curvature at any of your observations? Was it a flat plane that you were observing?
Well, would you like to see the evidence and I can talk you through it?
No. Well, yes or no?
Well, no. I would say no, there's no curve.
There's zero curve in your observations.
There's evidence that might be curve, but I can't conclude that it is curve, because if it is curve, it's in the wrong place. And if it is curve, it's very shallow, and there are other things that could explain what we see, not curve. In other words, causation. I'm not satisfied that we are seeing proof of curvature because there are other things that can explain that which I did see.
Well, this is the whole problem with the flat Earth, is that we all have different standards of evidence and standards of proof.
Exactly.
Now, we can have a flat earther for 2 years named Matrix Decode that it was a staunch supporter in this whole thing, and now has found and has beautiful evidence of there being curvature. Now, if you want to have a different explanation, which I'm sure you do, then that's fine. But when you guys say there's absolutely no evidence for curvature, and then you say there's absolutely no evidence for axial rotation, you're being intellectually dishonest on purpose, or just because you're ignorant or whatever, because there is actually evidence for that. Furthermore, you're looking at Mick West, which is like a jack of all trades of mainstream cuckery. Okay, so if you want to go and talk to a geodetic surveyor, somebody that actually does this shit and can explain it a little bit better to you,
well,
I just talked to one 2 days ago.
Me too.
Okay, he's got videos showing evidence of curvature,
and I've got
all day. But the truth isn't sexy in this community. They want to hear that it's flat, and they don't really care about the evidence to the contrary.
Evidence is sexy. The truth is subjective, and that isn't evidence. Evidence is sexy, no matter how you word it. And you can cross-reference my evidence with Mick West if you wish to try and discredit it. But the reality is the evidence I've got shows fuck all curve. And even if it does show curve, it's very, very small, and I can't work out where it is. So you can't say that evidence is not. You can't say that whatever it was sexy, because it's evidence that proves everything.
I'm saying that this person that I just referred to, he has like 150 views or whatever. He's actually in the field of geodesy, as well as in the field of conspiracy, as well as in the field of flat Earth. So we've narrowed it down to somebody that's actually making videos about this silly ass subject.
All right.
And how many times have you visited his blog? And the thing is you need to corroborate the official story so that at very least it will hone in or sharpen your fucking arguments. Because what I see you and Ranty do is just run around with assertions about your couple observations, where really there are other people that are much more advanced than you, that have much more content, that can actually explain or try to explain things that are natural phenomena, and not just go on with one thing for months.
I'd prefer it if you, rather than refer to it as our observations, I'd prefer it if you actually refer to them as evidence, because it is our evidence and it does show certain stuff. And if you dismiss the evidence that we've got, fine, it is repeatable. I mean, it's not as if it's NASA stuff that nobody can challenge. Anybody that lives in the UK can go and repeat my experiments and literally come back and then tell you that they did the same fucking thing.
It's all evidence. Even what NASA is giving us is evidence. It doesn't matter at the end of the day if you want to believe it or not. There are people like Soundly that are doing observations that would lead one to believe that there is curvature. So we have conflicting data here.
Right.
The data coming from flat Earth is much less than what's coming from the actual sphere Earthers.
My issue I just raised was that you referred to my evidence as observations, and that was what I was protesting. So in future, it's better if you refer to it as my evidence, because it is evidence. It's not observation. It's evidence.
Is it observational evidence? Is it empirical evidence having to do with observations?
It's empirical. Yeah, it's empirical.
So we're just playing a semantical game, because they are observations.
Well, I just reject the idea that you were diluting my evidence as an observation, because that's not the same thing. An observation is what you see and report, but evidence is what you can prove.
Well, you have no clear hypothesis with what you're even observing. You're just basically trying, like every other flat earther, to prove the faulty premise of the flat earth, and that is abductive logic.
The only thing
completely trying to fill everything in that will fill in your fucking confirmation bias, and it's just silly at this point when I hear you talk about Rahu and Ketu, when it's like, we have the model that we were prescribed doesn't have any issues with it. If you guys want to say that the stars are too far or whatever like that, whatever, that's fine, that's your own thought. But the thing is there's absolutely no debunks of what model we have. So at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're taking the model that has 100% predictive capability with our reality, empirical fucking reality, and throwing it out into the trash can to try to explain it a different way onto a flat, plain pipe dream.
Right, you've just mentioned about 15 different things all in the one comment there, and I'm not going to deal with all 15. I'm going to come back to one point. The point that you were dealing with before with the geodetic surveyor. I'm having a chat with a geodetic surveyor, or he's actually a surveyor, but he's well up with the geodetic side of it on Sunday, and I would respectfully challenge you to join me with your guy, and we'll have a 4-way conversation, and we'll see where the land actually lies with it, because it's going to be interesting. You believe that geodetics is the proof, and I can prove it's not. I can't do it myself because I'm not a surveyor, but I know a man that can.
I never said that was proof. I never said that, ever.
Well,
I said that's evidence towards the spherical model, and so is astronomy, so is anything doing with cosmogony. Unless you throw it all out and say that the Earth is flat, like there's actual evidence that you can go out and fucking see yourself. But we want to kid ourselves and look at stars and be like, well, we don't know what they are, bro. We don't know what the composition is, so that matters some reason. And it looks like we're looking down a hallway. It's like, oh, okay, dude. If you want to say that and run around and make a fool of yourself, that's fine. But you know what? The model that we were prescribed does fucking work. Okay, so at least in my perspective, you guys should just smash down the model that works and try to fit it in. Because if you guys continue to say that you don't need a map or a model, then nobody's going to take you seriously. It's a joke. You guys can't explain anything. You can't even explain a sunset, which to a rational, logical mind would actually be evidence that the fucking Earth is curved, dude.
Okay, well, I mean, that's the logic and reason, isn't it? But the evidence for the sunset, I mean, let's just discuss that now, seeing as though, I mean, there's so many things that you've just brought up there that we can talk about. Well, let's talk about the sunset for a moment. So let me get you a really interesting picture of a sunset, and then you can tell me what you think you see, and then you can tell me where I'm going wrong with it, because the sunsets are really interesting, because you say that they're obviously evidence of a ball Earth. I'm going to challenge that now with just, I mean, you can do this with any sunset that over warm areas, and you can see that it's not an easy observation to interpret as, oh yeah, that's definitely doing what they say it is, because so just give me a sec while I pick up this image. I'm trying to remember where the hell it is.
Let me not waste the audience's time as well as yours. Was there a solar filter on this observation?
I don't think it's relevant.
You don't think it's relevant? Why can you justify that assertion that you don't think it's relevant when doing observations of the sun that you use a solar filter?
You'll see now when you see the image itself. You'll see why it's not relevant. Just bear with me one sec.
I want to know why Anthony Riley thinks that it's irrelevant that you use a solar filter when doing observations of the sun.
You'll see now. All right. So.
You know, this is why I'm doing this, is because I challenge people on their belief, and when they bring up some kind of a Eric Dubé video, or they have some kind of appeal to Mark Sargent fallacy or something, that's just where I know that they're at. They don't have true belief in it. They don't have justification for their belief. They want to pull up a video, and mostly when there's no solar filter. I've told you before, if you're going to do an observation of the sun, you would probably want to use a solar filter, and that's because of optics, and that's because of the sun's rays, and a whole host of reasons. Yeah. So how is this proving the flat Earth?
Well, hang on. All I'm doing is showing you a normal sunset that you can repeat pretty much anywhere. And what I'm showing you is the distorted edge of the sun. And if I open this in Paint, for example, and draw a perfect circle, which is what we normally see the sun do, you can see that this doesn't create a perfect circle in any stretch of the imagination. But the point I want you to see isn't the shape of the sun or the edges of the sun. When I zoom into the picture, we know that this sun is physically fallen behind what you would call the curve of the Earth, because we can tell by where the top of the sun is. It would carry on below the horizon. But look at the horizon. We have this band going across the horizon, which is clearly opaque because the sun should be shining through it. And we see that the sun is not actually shining through it, even though we know the sun is there. So now what that does is if there was a sun disappearing into the distance, it would disappear bottom up because of this band of thing on the horizon, whatever it is. And that would explain the sun setting straight away. It does it
because
all
you
the time.
pull up a picture of what looks like to me of an inferior mirage of the sunset. Because of that picture, you're going to basically base all of your assumptions, your presuppositional beliefs, your suppositions rather, on the flat Earth and hinge it on, you know, I mean, even the Jupiter comments you have are just ridiculous. But let's go into the sun here. So do we understand that there are inferior, superior mirages? There are atmospheric conditions that do things to the sun and other objects?
Yeah, like pylons and bridges in Pontchartrain.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are we seeing here that proves anything at all?
A fucked up mess that we can't interpret very easily because we know the sun is round. We know that it's being squashed. We know that it's being fucked around with. And we know that there is a band at the bottom of it that makes it look like the sun's dropping behind it. But actually, it's an opaque layer that we can't see through for some reason. And the sun cannot penetrate it. We know that the horizon is there, but there is that band in between the horizon and the sun where the sun isn't there for whatever reason. So if the sun's disappearing into the distance like a plane, it'll go down to the horizon and it'll disappear from the bottom up. We
do realize we are looking at atmospheric conditions. It's probably what I would call an inferior mirage, correct?
Maybe it could be an inferior mirage. I call it an atmospheric blocking.
So intrinsically, we are dealing with somewhat of a deception in the atmosphere when we're looking at the sun. So distortion. So I mean, anything that's distorted, like why would you then make assumptions? Like an opaque moisture deck or whatever. I mean, dearth is the first one to come up with that beautiful fucking terminology. But this doesn't explain anything at all unless you're a flat earther. It doesn't explain how, half the flat earth will say that it's perspective when a sun sets, but they won't talk about the angular size change. This is logic and reasoning. You take the preponderance of evidence that we were given and you try to corroborate it, and then you weigh it against the contrary belief, which would be the flat earth, and it falls absolutely flat. So I just, what are we proving with the inferior mirage sun right there? It reminds me of Pete Shea. He does the same exact argument, dude.
I wouldn't say that that's an interpretation of logic and reason. I would say an application of logic and reason. I would say that's an application of conjecture and supposition, which is in other words, your view is equally as valid as mine, and mine can be as right or wrong as yours. That's not logic and reason.
No, mine is a much more justified belief, because really what you guys are doing at the end of the day is just redefining words, just randomly. Oh, we're going to call this an opaque moisture deck because we can't explain how the sun actually sets. We can't explain that it doesn't change in angular diameter throughout the whole day, though it's traveling on the fucking flat earth pipe dream, and all of a sudden from 5 to 10 minutes it's obstructed from bottom up. We're just going to say it's perspective or opaque moisture decks.
Actually,
and things like go ahead.
The sun does change in angular size throughout the day. It's about 0.5.
Very small, dude. Very small.
You know what the problem with that comment though is? The moon does the exact same thing and it's 240,000 miles away. So you can't have...
Well, yeah, okay. So it's also a very much smaller object.
They look the same size to me.
That doesn't matter.
Well, it does.
You understand here on Earth that you could have an observation of a mountain close up that's smaller and a giant mountain in the background that looks like they're the same size, but it's about perspective, right?
It is about perspective, but perspective only applies one way. If a flat earther tries to deal with perspective, the ball earther just laughs it off. But when a ball earther does the same thing, unfortunately, it's seen as being credible.
Because you guys attach, like I said, you're redefining the fucking language in that you're saying that perspective is what makes the sunset. Though, if you read the law of perspective, it has nothing to do with any kind of obstruction. It makes things smaller horizontally as well as vertically.
I know.
It says nothing about fucking, and we don't observe that. So when you say that it's perspective that makes the sunset, you're actually just self-invalidating completely what you're saying, because we would expect a larger size change in the fucking diameter change.
Well, we would expect that if the sun was, like you say, not having any angular size variation, and then it actually has 0.5, the reality is the moon should have much more of a variation, but it doesn't. It has the same. Yet one's 93 million miles away, the other one's only 240,000. So how is that possible that the two values are the same?
They're not the same, first of all. But second of all, we can look at this as far as like a solar eclipse. That's kind of part of the reason why flat earthers say that. I mean, they do look fairly the same size, and we can observe that here on Earth when solar eclipses happen. So, in my opinion, it logically coexists with what I just said. Okay. But the thing is like, we'll jump to Rahu and Ketu and all this nonsense to explain what has already been explained, and there's no issues with moon phases. I think that you might be really past the whole thing that, the Earth's shadow is causing all the moon phases. I hope, except the lunar eclipses, I really hope that you're there, because, it's hard to gauge these new flat earthers that have come onto the scene, where we were getting into more advanced topics with people like Glowbusters, but now we're going to make, one or two observations and then go and attack some mainstream cuck and act. I mean, I don't know what you're doing, man. It doesn't stand reasoning to me.
Let's go back to Rahu and Ketu. What's your issue with Rahu and Ketu?
Well, you actually said on Patricia Steer's show that there's evidence that Rahu and Ketu are real.
Well, I actually said Rahu. Well, I actually said the black moon, and then it was paraphrased as to be Rahu and Ketu, that ethos. Do you dispute that there is a black moon?
What evidence do we have that there's a black moon?
Well, I'll deal with that if you just tell me if you dispute it or not.
I have not seen evidence thus far that there's a black moon. I would expect, if it's some kind of a physical object that does obscure the moon, that we could probably shoot some radio beams at it and see that it's there. And that's probably even doable by a flat earther. It should be very easy if there's something that covers the moon. Really should.
Yeah, okay. So do you accept that there could be... Well, all right, let's just say that I showed you evidence that there was a black moon. Would you accept that that's not explained at all on the heliocentric model and is kind of a big hole because it kind of should be explained?
That there's a black moon? Well, no, because we have all of the observational data that goes with the model, and it has such predictive capability that they can tell us when a lunar eclipse is going to happen, the exact degree in which it's going to happen in 20 years, in 40 years, in 50 years.
So the answer to the question is that you wouldn't accept the evidence as a whole in the heliocentric model, and that's presumably because you have that hole yourself. You're not even aware of it.
What evidence is there that there's a black moon, dude?
Do you want to know?
I mean, you guys go and watch all these conspiracy videos, so I don't really know. Like, we're going off of Crow 777 now with the fucking lunar wave, and I'm based here in reality, and really what I did at the beginning was corroborate what we were being told. Okay, and like I've said before, it much outweighs evidence empirically than the flat earth. And then you have people like you that are making a few observations and going around as if you're doing something.
So I'm not doing something?
You're making a fool of yourself. And you're going into IPS's chat with Issa to try to get all of those trolls to give you views and stuff.
Yeah, but
I'm qualitative, my friend, and you might be quantitative, and that's fine because you might look at this from a business standpoint. But me personally, I am out for the truth. Okay, I am a fucking objective skeptic, and I did look at this unbiasedly. I don't care at the end of the day what the fucking shape is, but I continue to be called shill and FBI informant and agent and all this kind of stuff, completely unfounded. I mean, you might not even know that I went last night and talked with Bob, and ODD came up. I got a picture with ODD, Jake, Flat Earth Hassel. Like, I'm a real person, okay? And I'm a real fucking skeptic. And when I see people that just have absolutely no evidence for the shit that they fucking push, I'm going to call it out. So that's why I'm here and saying, why are you throwing out the globe model when really what it's based off of is what I would call inductive logic with a few observations?
Right, you're doing that gish-gash talk where you make a lot of assertions in a very short period of time. Let's keep it down to a minimal so that I have a chance to respond to them in turn, and we'll deal with them point by point, okay? Firstly, I have got evidence, but you don't want to see it. So that kind of shits on the evidence that I've got. So if you don't want to see the evidence, that makes you ignorant, but that doesn't make me wrong. Secondly, I'm making myself look foolish with evidence. I'm not doing it with rhetoric. I'm doing it with evidence. So yes, I may look foolish, but at least I'm doing it with evidence. But you don't want to see it. Now, with regards to the
you're now making assertions. You're really fucking changing the goalpost here, my friend.
No.
Because I never said anything about not wanting to see it. But then again, it goes back to the evidence claims. Like, well, okay, I can show you a picture from NASA that the Earth is a sphere. Well, you're not going to believe that. Well, okay, well, we are entitled to our own beliefs and opinions. And when you bring up a conspiracy video, of course, a person like me that has been in this fucking mental case show for a long time will be extremely skeptical. But you know what? I'm open to it if there's actual physical fucking evidence, not just somebody making a bunch of assertions.
Right, but I said to you before that we could go through the evidence without having mentioning Mick West, and you didn't want to do it.
Well, at that point, we weren't talking about Rahu and Ketu, and I think that now we're talking about Rahu and Ketu. So what are you talking about?
So, all right, well, let's deal with Rahu and Ketu, and specifically the black moon, okay? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
This is called the ephemeris. It's every year they do one, and in this particular one, and you can go back over time as well to the 2016 and 2015. They're about $10. You can buy it from I'm not sure where you can buy it from, but you'll have to look for it. But in this, it says containing the longitudes of all the planets daily and their latitudes and the declinations for every other day with the lunar and the mutual aspects for every day, etc. Also, 10-day longitudes of Chiron, 4 asteroids, and the black moon Lilith. Now, in there, if we go into there, you see basically tabular data. And the tabular data, I'll be honest, means nothing to me. I don't really understand it. This video explains it. And if you wanted to, I could arrange a chat with you and the guy that talks about it, and he can give you all the evidence that you would require that there is actually a black moon up there called Lilith. And the fact that it's not on the heliocentric model in any way, kind of puts a massive hole in the knowledge database for anybody that argues that people are like flat earthers are ignorant or don't go around with evidence, or you saw me on Patricia's show making statements, because this is the evidence, dude. It is out there. You can go and get the ephemeris from anywhere. Well, I don't know whether you can get it from anywhere, but you can get it for every single year going back for God knows how long, and they document it. They know where it is. They know what it does.
This is embarrassing. Do you know what Lilith means?
I know what it means in the religious context, yes.
So have you ever even looked up the black moon Lilith?
Have you?
Yeah, I've heard this one before.
Let me guess. Did you find the usual, the first wife of Adam chopping his penis off, all that kind of stuff?
No, it's basically talking about apogee of the moon. It's
all right. So you found it in the correct context. And what did you find as a result of it?
Who is saying that it's an actual physical body? It's just the fucking name that they have attached to the apogee.
A name that they've attached to the apogee.
This is the conflation that happens in the flat Earth, just like Michelson-Morley and Aries failure, where they have flat earthers have absolutely no idea what they were testing for. They were testing for the luminiferous ether, right? And they failed. They didn't find it. Okay, that was a 19th century fucking fictitious force that supposedly isn't there, and some people think it's there or whatever. But then they'll conflate it into that the Earth isn't spinning and it hasn't been, or it's been proven. So in this case, when you bring up that book, that totally proves the sphere Earth with latitude, longitude, as well as the heavenly bodies, and then take the Lilith out of context, it really shows where you're at in this, buddy.
What are you talking about? It clearly described it as the black moon. It tells us exactly where it is. What's your problem with the data? Am I interpreting it wrong? Or is it that you don't know what you're talking about on this occasion?
No, Lilith is known, dude. It's not an actual fucking physical object, man.
So why did they document its movements then?
Well, you're talking about a book that fucking documents all of the heavenly bodies, dude, and corroborates the fucking sphere model, bro. Seriously, this is the problem with cherry picking information. Oh, look, NASA says one time that they're using a calculation for a flat plane, and there's 1,000 other references to the sphere Earth. Well, we're gonna take this, even though we don't believe in NASA. It's the law of non-contradiction. I mean, you guys fail to be absolute fucking hypocrites. There's no way around it. You can't cherry pick information like this. You can't. Right.
I'm going to put in chat the link that I was just watching, and I'm going to put underneath it Tim fail, because essentially you don't know what you're talking about with regard to Lilith, and that was the worst gish gash answer I've ever heard. So what I'll say to you, Tim, is unless you go and watch that video and come back with why it's wrong, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same on the flat Earth as it is on the ball Earth. It can't be distinguished. So if you can find a distinguish between the two models, be my guest. I've challenged Sly Sparkane to do the exact same thing, and as yet I've not even had a response to the email, let alone
what models are you speaking of?
Contrasting against the flat over the round ball Earth model. You said that ephemeris was a complete and utter support of the heliocentric version of the Earth. Well, it isn't. It's exactly the same on both models. So what I'm asking you to do is go away, watch that video, and find me a fault with what is explained in that video with both models. Tell me where it goes wrong.
Let's talk about it right now. Let's because you just claimed victory for some reason. You're now referring me to a video about something, which is fine. I'm just saying, don't you have the information in your head to refute what I've just said? Right, you just claimed victory. What was I wrong about?
I didn't claim a victory. I dismissed.
Yeah, you did. You just said Tim fails. So what did I fail on? What are you right about and I'm wrong about?
You claimed a victory that the ephemeris was a ball Earth winner, and it isn't. It does the exact same thing.
Did I ever say ephemeris once?
No, you said that. Right. Okay. So obviously it's not going in. So is there any point even discussing this part of this conversation at the moment? You claim.
I'm just saying you're now putting words in my mouth, which.
I'm
You
not.
have no found for it, dude. Why are you doing that? Because you're now frustrated because you're trying to go with ancient cosmology and trying to, prove your flat earth confirmation bias. This is a joke, dude. Why doesn't Ranty Rant know anything about astronomy still? Okay, I went and talked to him about it. And why you guys are such diligent researchers that continue to just have hit pieces on Mick West for some reason? Why don't you guys go and get a feel for all of the evidence, okay? Not just your little observations that, it's flat during the nighttime. Like, go and fucking do something, dude. Go and research. Go and impress people. Come out with new information, okay? Because this movement is beyond stagnant at this point. And the least of what they need is people like you coming in with poor arguments, okay?
Well, you're gish-gashing again. You claimed that the ephemeris was supported.
You can call it whatever you want, Anthony. I just called you out.
Yeah, and you're not even letting me answer. You claimed that the ephemeris was supporting the ball Earth model, and I told you it wasn't, and you're now claiming that I've claimed a victory. I'm not. I'm pointing out that you're mistaken, lying, or wrong. It doesn't support the heliocentric model. Now,
did I ever say ephemeris?
You asked us to then discuss that video, and you can't discuss it with me now because you haven't watched it. So no, we can't discuss that, and it's something that you need to go away and reconsider.
No, you know how ridiculous it is for somebody to be like, this is my argument. You have to go watch this video, and I won because you're not watching the video. I mean, seriously, dude.
No.
Really?
You claimed that the ephemeris was supporting the ball Earth model.
Did I ever say ephemeris? Let's get this straight right now. Did I ever say ephemeris before you started saying I said ephemeris?
You never said the word ephemeris, but you said that it was supporting the heliocentric model, and it isn't.
Wait, so I didn't say that word, but I said that word is supportive of the heliocentric model, right? So do you understand that we're having a conversation, you're not even remembering what I said, and you're actually conflating what I said and affirming your own victory, which people in the chat can fucking go back and listen to, man.
I'm going to play it right now so we can hear exactly what you said. Let me stick this onto stereo mode so that it can come through. Turn the gain up so that we can hear it. Let's hear exactly what you said. Shut up, Mickey. The round ball Earth model. You said that ephemeris was a complete and utter support of the helium. Tells us exactly where it is. What's your problem with the data? Am I interpreting it wrong, or is it that you don't know what you're talking about on this occasion?
No, Lilith is known, dude. It's not an actual fucking physical object, man.
So why did they document its movements then?
You're talking about a book that fucking documents all of the heavenly bodies, dude, and cooperates with the fucking sphere model, bro. Seriously,
there you go. You're talking about a book that talks about the heavenly bodies and corroborates the sphere model. Would you like to hear it again?
Okay. No. You said that I said the ephemeris. Okay. So I was making the point that I've never said ephemeris before you started saying it. Right?
And I agreed with you. You never said the ephemeris. What I said was that you said that book was supporting the heliocentric model. And
it does.
No, it doesn't at all.
How does it not?
Well, that's what I'm challenging you to show. It does the exact same thing on both models, and it's documented in that video that you haven't yet watched. And I'm challenging you to go and watch it and tell me why it's wrong. You can't do it right now, but you claimed it was supporting the heliocentric model, and it isn't.
Again, you're appealing to a video in which we're having a conversation right now. You want to appeal to your videos about Mick West or Kara or fucking Slice Sparkane or whatever, but we are here right now. I'm talking about your logical conclusions on this matter. Right. And we want to go off of other videos and say, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. Well, you just completely conflated what I said. Okay. No. I didn't say anything about the ephemeris. And I did say that with a book that has latitude and longitudes as well as the stars documented. Yeah. That's actually corroborating the fucking sphere model, dude. Okay.
Yeah. And then you said that I was claiming a victory and I wasn't. I was correcting your mistaken perception that you'd won because you think that book corroborates that version of your belief. And it doesn't. It does the exact same on both models. So I wasn't claiming a victory.
How do you justify that it does that on both models?
Well, you didn't.
Because I know it doesn't.
So prove it. You show me where it's wrong, but you're not going to be able to do it yet because
the southern fucking portion of the Earth it doesn't work on any flat Earth conception at all.
That's your belief, but where's the evidence that proves that?
No. You are saying that this completely maps out a flat Earth, the ephemeris or whatever. And so how is that justifiably possible when people in the southern hemisphere country, like I've said millions of times ad nauseum, can look due south and see the same thing? How does that be mapped onto a flat Earth besides just your local area?
Right. You just said then that you've said a million times ad nauseum that people in the south can look south and all see, but they can't, can they? Think about it logically. Always one of them is going to be in the dark. In the daylight, which is effectively they can't see the stars. So there's never going to be a time where all three southern continents can look
Did I
south.
say that it has to be contiguous? I'm telling you that people literally in the southern hemisphere country, when they can see the stars, right? When they can see them, they can all look due south. Okay. I didn't say anything about at the exact same time, you guys look due south, even though it's daytime. Okay. But we know that if you do look due south, even if it's daytime, you will still be looking towards that celestial point, the south celestial point. The point is that fails. That logic alone fails on any conception of flat Earth. Not any map or it doesn't matter. Okay. We need to figure out why the Earth is flat, but we have these observations. We have to.
Right. Do you agree that the stars are not connected to the Earth? They're independent of the Earth, whether it's spinning or not, whether it's round or square, they're independent.
Yeah, most plausibly, yes.
Great. So when we look up to the stars and we see the stars in the night sky, nobody challenges whether or not they spin. We know that the stars spin around that one rotation point, and that's interpreted as the Earth spinning.
Two rotation points, north and south.
Yeah, okay. But when we look at the rotation points, and we see, the reality is, when you look up at the stars, what do we actually see? We see them creating perfect circles every single time, and they do it in both models. They do it at both north and the south, be it the North Star or the South Star. Agreed?
Not really, truthfully, but go ahead.
Okay.
You say the North Star and the South Star. First of all, let's just put it out there, but Polaris is not exactly at the North Celestial Point, and the Southern Crux is very close. That's how you find the South Celestial Point, but it's not exact. Okay, so there's no North Star and South Star. It's not exact.
The Southern Crux is at 60 degrees latitude. It's not close. All it does is points to where the Southern Star should be.
It's a celestial point. Yes, it's actually evidence of axial rotation that you want to deny.
What is the Southern Crux?
Two celestial points. Absolutely. Either way, if it's geocentric or heliocentric, you have fucking axial rotation, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, that's the observations. Doesn't matter.
This is a typical picture that we see when we look up at Polaris, for example. We see that as the stars get towards the horizon, they bleach out with light pollution. We see that there appears to be a rotation of the stars, and it's interpreted to mean that the Earth is rotating. However, when you look at the stars, you can equally interpret them that they are flat, or you can equally interpret them that you're looking down a tube. Either way, there's three interpretations there at least. So how do you know that either one of them is right? You've got three possibles. On their own, the stars don't prove anything. They may be your interpretation that you accept to be true, but I could equally say that they look flat to me because it looks just like that image there. Or it looks.
This goes with a very brash misconception of what is being purported by the heliocentrists, or just how long we've known this. Okay,
sure.
To say, oh, this could be looking down a hallway. Well, even if that, okay, sure, it could be that. All right, this still doesn't explain anything as far as observations. Like I say, people looking due south are seeing the same thing. Okay, celestial navigation from fucking ocean to ocean is known and was known, dude. I mean, like, you think they're thinking that they're looking down hallways? Do you think they're that stupid?
Tim, I'll give you this. Let's just say that the Earth is spinning, okay? Because the evidence I'll go with what you say. I'll accept that the Earth is spinning based on the star trails. But where's the evidence of the Earth orbiting the sun in the star trails? Because if the Earth's supposed to be orbiting the sun 1 degree pretty much every day, because there's 360 degrees in a rotation and there's 365 days in a year, so that's basically 1 degree a day, you would expect Polaris and the other one, the one down there, Octantis, to do a movement in the sky, and we should see it and we should be able to record it, and it should be observable because we are supposed to be having 2 axes of rotation, 3 if you include the sun moving around in its galaxy. So where's the evidence?
So this is part of the problem, is that there are flat earthers that come out with videos and don't really make retractions. Jeranism just recently pretty much had the same argument. Okay, he came onto my show, he said pretty much the same argument. Now you can go and watch his video saying that the star trails do work on the sphere model. So really, this is just a misconception yet again. And really, it is hard to fathom what they are saying. I can definitely pitch the geocentric idea as much as I can the heliocentric idea. But the fact remains that there are 2 celestial points. There are arc star trails at the equator, and this is what we would expect to see on a sphere going through. I mean, this is just logic. Okay, this isn't having a flat Earth bias or anything like that. So just saying, hey, this is what they're telling us. Let's see if what reality is matching up to the observations. And I personally did this. Okay, Anthony, I did go to near Peru and more near to the equator.
But respect.
Just recently.
I'm not going to let you talk about that if you're not going to let me talk about my evidence. I think that's fair.
Well, everybody that's listening, the 100 plus people, this will probably be one of your biggest shows just because you're talking to me. Literally have all heard it. They've heard it when you were in a robe. They heard it on the other show. They heard it on the other show, and 10 other countless ones. Okay. You have a few pieces of evidence, and like I said, hey, you're going to be scientific about it. Let's get all kinds of observations from all kinds of flat earthers. Okay. There's people that are flat earthers that can come up and take beautiful pictures of my face that have a better camera than a P900. But hey, he's got no observations because he already knows the Earth is flat. So, okay, you guys have a few observations and they're conflicting in data, and you've now concluded that the Earth is flat. We all get it.
Right. You gish-gashing again with loads of points all in a very short period of time. There's so much that
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautifully hard, which is the video that Jaron claims that the stars do what you say that he does, which is the video that he says, because I know Jaron's position on the stars, and as far as I'm aware, he hasn't changed it.
How about, I think it's there are star trails in the globe. I think it's his fourth video there.
Right. The point of that was, right, okay, so this is the video that he did with Wolfie, isn't it?
I didn't actually watch it. I was just happy that he did it.
But you've cited it as an evidence that the star trails work on a globe as well. The point of this was
I cited it as a flat earther that was misconceived, as you are at this point, and has now retracted that statement of misconception.
All right, this video was
an example.
This video was about lining up Polaris in the north and getting somebody that's at a different latitude to see the stars doing this perfect circle again. And basically, Jaron misaligned it, and Wolfie showed how he did it wrong, and Wolfie did it with this method, and he got it to be exact. Now, I was on the fence with it. I wasn't sure what it would show, and I wanted to learn from it. So I watched it, and initially I said I agreed with Jaron, it wouldn't do it. Wolfie then showed that it did do it, and then thankfully I didn't make the video, so I didn't have to do a correction. But in there, you'll find my video saying I agree with Jaron, it probably won't do it. Now, Jaron got it misaligned. However, in the context that you cited this was in relation to me saying there should be movement of the Earth when it goes around the sun during its orbit, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with it.
Are you saying that there's supposed to be, or wasn't your point that these stars, including Polaris, should be moving like a degree? Wasn't that what you said?
The point with the stars, when we orbit the sun, let me go back to it. Where the fuck is it?
Because what we're talking about is ridiculous scale and distance here, and that's just kind of the issue that we have here, is that it's basically impossible to fathom. It really is for anybody.
So you say, but have you ever used a zoom lens on a camera for like a P900, for example?
For stars?
Yeah, anything. When you try looking at anything that's at any distance, you need a microscopic movement to make a big movement in the sky. Meaning that if we are orbiting the sun and we move a little tiny bit on our orbit around the sun, these are going to move. They don't move. So when we're orbiting the sun, if we're going to accept that this is the rotation of the Earth and it rotates once every 24 hours, I want to see where the evidence is that we orbit the sun in the same stars, because it doesn't appear to be there. So unless it's microscopic and nobody can measure it, there is no parallax between any of the stars as we orbit the sun. That has to be there if we're orbiting the sun.
Well, there is actually some parallax, okay, with closest stars, right? There is. And I guess you'll have to do that test for yourself.
Well,
okay?
It isn't there. I mean, yeah,
6 months apart. Well, have you done the test and you're saying that it isn't there?
I've seen the evidence and I reject it. What they're talking about is inconsistent with the orbit of the sun. We're orbiting the sun every day, and there is no movement of the stars.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I think that the model that we were prescribed is much more valid than even the conception of flat Earth. And I think it's foolish to, just try to make it your mission in life to ad hoc fallacy everything that you possibly can to make this thing legitimate. And I think, you can't polish a turd, man. I mean, you can continue to try, but this will never come truth. You said that this is a subjective truth here. There is an objective truth to the shape of the Earth. What you're saying is incorrect. You will never be right. Go ahead.
I think it's foolish to cite Jaron on a video that had nothing to do with the orbit of the sun as an authority for the stars when it had absolutely...
Okay, let's go through this again. You were talking about angular fucking change and more parallax in the stars, correct?
No, we were talking about the orbit of the Earth around the sun and there not being any evidence of it in the stars. That's what we were talking about. And you cited that video as evidence to support your perception that Jaron now believes...
Let's go with that. What do you mean there's no evidence of the sun's orbit in relation with the stars? What does that even mean?
The Earth orbits the sun 365 days. It takes for one orbit, right? We don't see that movement in the stars. Now, I've given you that.
Oh my God, dude!
I've given you that the stars move round once in a 24-hour period, and I'm happy to accept that would be the rotation of the Earth. However, there's a hole in the evidence because there's no evidence that there's no evidence that the Earth's orbiting the sun, because if there was, you would see it in the stars, and we don't see that evidence. And then you cited this video by Jeren as your assertion that he now believes that the stars do work on the ball model, but it's to a different point completely. So isn't that a bit silly when you cited me for being a bit silly?
I think truthfully, people in the audience will understand what's happening here because it's happened before when you talk to people. It's either you're doing this on purpose or you're just a clown. Because
let's replay
because they are. No, let's not. We already know what I said, and people in the fucking chat know what I said as well.
You cited Jaren's video.
Yes, I cited a flat earther that is talking about misconceptions with star movements, and then he comes out and makes a retraction. Okay, so that's what I said.
Well, that wasn't the context. Change the context. That's not what the context was.
Well, just because you added the sun in it doesn't mean that then your conclusion and really part of most of the question is about the movement and the parallax of the stars.
Yeah, but
that has relation to his video. How does that not have relation to his video?
But we were talking about the Earth orbiting the sun at the time, and you cited
No, we're talking about the relation in which the orbit of the sun and the stars should move in your mind. That's what we're talking about. You are slightly on subject, but look, you can't do this shit with me, okay? You can't put words in my mouth because I'm not going to stand for it. All right?
I'm not going to put words.
I came on here to talk about your logical conclusion about the whole flat Earth pipe dream, and thus far you have a few observations that you're going to continue to go on, and really you don't know anything else about anything except if it has to do with flat Earth. Okay, so you can continue to stay in this echo chamber, bro. I don't fucking care. Okay, so but if you're going to be an objective skeptic about this, then you need to fucking look at all the evidence and not be such a clown on everybody's show saying the same thing over and over and over again.
No, dude, the most important part of the heliocentric model is that it's a ball. That means it's got curve. It rotates once every 24 hours, and there is this thing called gravity. So the reality is the one thing that we can do the most testing on is the curve. So why is it that you're happy to dismiss that evidence and my perceptions of that evidence and my assertions to that
You
support?
Dismiss your own evidence that has to do with curvature during the day, okay?
That's because the curve, that's right.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you just admitted that because I just set you up into that. You just said that you admittedly will deny evidence of curvature that you took yourself, buddy. Yeah. All right? So I'm supposed to come on and other people are supposed to come on, show you this riveting evidence, but then again, at the same fucking token, this person denies evidence of curvature from his own fucking videos. Right. Unbelievable.
Let me respond. I didn't deny evidence of curvature during the day. I denied evidence that it appears to be a variety of things because it's not fucking clear. It's the opacity of the atmosphere where we are. We can't work out what we're looking at. It's just too blurred. So I dismissed that evidence because I thought I can't tell anything. It's got very little to zero value. Hence the reason why we went back at nighttime. But if it's curved, it should be curved by night, shouldn't it? And guess what? Didn't get any evidence to support that curvature.
Well, in fact, I try to ask you this question. I've done it before. I was hoping that you would have formulated the answer in your head because it is a yes or no question. Was your observation, was there any curvature? Okay. Was there zero curvature? Because your conclusion to your premises is that the Earth is flat. Okay. So are you observing a completely flat Earth in those pictures?
I can't tell because I only got the height of the tide when it was on its way down.
So you don't even know your own results. You actually deny part of your results during the day.
Correct.
So what is your actual evidence for the Earth being flat? Because you're actually denying your own evidence. It sounds
all right. Like. Let me respond and I'll show you. The easiest way.
Is it a video?
No, it's a photo. The easiest way to deal with it is a photo that Mick took for me, ready for his conversation with me. Let me get the bit where it was. Right from where I was. That is what we were expecting to see. That's the tower, and it's the top ball part of the tower just peeping over the horizon. So essentially, most of the tower is gone, right? And I'm sure you've seen the evidence that doesn't go with that.
You're now appealing to Mick West again. You know that, right?
No, the evidence that I'm on about the evidence. I'm not on about Mick West. I'm on about that's what we should see with the curve, and the curve is a constant, right? It's always there. It doesn't dilute with the weather or anything like that. It's always there. But when we got there, we ain't seeing that ball on the horizon, mate. We're seeing the whole fucking thing. We're seeing the pier lights on the adrenaline blast thing that's on the South Pier, which is here. We're seeing the roller coaster at 235 feet tall, and there was an argument over whether we were actually seeing the disco ball, but I reject the argument that we weren't seeing it. I accept that this is the disco ball, and that's at road height. We're seeing the promenade. That we're seeing basically the point where the land stops and the sea begins, but we're not seeing all of it. Yeah, here, one sec.
While my opponent is away, I would like to take this time to bash him. Oh, wait, he's back. Go ahead.
No, Bash, you go on. You can have a minute. Go on.
No, I think that you just need to really logically go over what you're trying to say.
No, you need to evidentially go over what I'm saying, because that, my friend, is not the same as that.
Well, a person that is denying some of his evidence and then saying that he can't even answer a question if there's zero curvature or not.
I didn't deny it. I dismissed it. There's a difference.
Yeah, you're dismissing your own evidence that I have to watch. It's like, okay.
Yeah, but do you want to see the evidence that I dismissed in contrast to what I accepted? Do you want to see the difference between the two?
I don't, actually. I think that we've made ripples here today. I think that anybody who is watching with a logical, open, skeptical mind knows exactly what's happening here. We are looking at the face of dogmatism and trying to prove faulty premises. Do you know what? Not being scientific, that's pseudoscience.
Do you know what I think people will interpret this as? I've gone out and got the evidence. It contradicts the evidence that or the narrative that we all led to believe. And you've come on to try and claim a victory without any evidence to support your assertion, to try and discredit me in any event, no matter what. And you've done it with a gish-gash explanation that doesn't even address the evidence, because you've either have to accept or reject this evidence, and you haven't done that. You've just tried and interpreted it as your own way. And the reality is, I think that you're a flat earther in disguise, because I know you used to be one, and I still think you are one.
No, I've never been a flat earther.
I think that your sole intention is to come on here tonight to try and weed me out as one of the weaker flat earthers. That's all I think you're doing tonight.
Well, that's kind of what it is nowadays. It's like picking on low-hanging fruit. And it's like, you know what? If I have to come in and say, hey, you need to go through your logic and reasoning. Hey, you need to go through more points than just two observations. And then the third one or a fourth one that you've just completely dismissed. We need more from Anthony Riley. And that's not really too much to ask. Okay, you don't have to love me or hate me. But what I want to see is better argumentation. Okay, because this is fucking boring that we continue to go on to several shows and say the same shit as if Mick West is some kind of authority. Mick West has no authority over me or anything that I believe or anybody in the conspiracy crowd alone.
So why does the likes of Dazza the cameraman insist that we use his website for because it has the refraction element to it? He's one of the big protagonists. Sean does it as well. You have to use Metabunk. You can't use the Auden ones, the Gizmodo one. You have to use Metabunk. So he is a perceived authority. I don't accept him as an authority. I think he's a complete and utter fraud. Even though we went to my university in England, we both went the same fucking place and we both did exams in the same hall, probably. Although I don't know that's absolutely.
So you have the thing is you have differing evidence basically, and you've concluded one way from that, even though, like I've said, you've just completely discarded some. But the thing is that what we're talking about is approximations. We're not talking about there's some kind of objective curvature formula to this Earth. Variables.
I'm not talking about what was the word you just used? Approximations. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this is the evidence. We are meant to see that from where I was, and that's what we saw. That's evidence.
That's to him. That's not to me. I'm telling you right now that, you know what, on different days you'll see different things. And my suggestion is to continue to do these observations as much as you guys can. I know it's kind of far for you, but the thing is once you get 100 fucking video or like 10 videos, at least 10 videos where there's zero curvature, we're gonna have issues to try to fucking talk about. But in the meantime, I would suggest that you guys do actual research on things like astronomy and go through cosmogony and talk to fucking geodetic surveyors, man.
Tim, I've invited you to the hangout on Sunday with a surveyor, and you can bring your geodetic surveyor. So it's not as if I'm not doing research, and I'd like to put it on the record, let the record show that I'm actually doing an observation with this same thing, and we're thinking of doing it probably tomorrow because the low tide value tomorrow is around about 11:30. So if I can get 11:30 in before the tower goes off, because it gets switched off at midnight because it's summer, it's out of peak, it doesn't run all the time. We're going to try and get it at low tide tomorrow evening, because it's going to be before midnight, and we should be able to see it at low tide, and we should be able to get better evidence than that. Hopefully, can't guarantee it, depends on the weather. But if I come back at mega low or at low tide rather than somewhere between high tide and low tide, and we didn't specifically go at low tide, but now we're going to specifically go at low tide. If we come back with evidence that's similar to or better than that, and I know that for a fact we're going to see that same tower in pretty much exactly the same position. The only difference is it'll either be distorted, stretched at the top, but it'll still be the same size, or it'll be squashed towards the top. And because that's what refraction is. It is actually distortion of what we see, but we're not going to see it this could be a little bit lower, but essentially we're going to come back with, but we're not ignoring it. We're not being a one-trick pony. We've done shitloads of observations.
Look, dude, this is completely pointless, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because you can take a picture of a probable inferior mirage and then say there's some kind of an opaque moisture object that the sun is setting behind. If you believe that, okay, there's no amount of evidence that can ever bring you back to the sphere, dude, because it doesn't matter if you guys start seeing curvature at night and you're like, oh shit, it's below, or oh shit, that's doing something different. There will be an ad hoc fallacy for it. So really, I would just say, man, don't waste your time. You already know 100% that it's not a fucking globe. You know that it's flat. Yeah, but so just keep pitching this shit. Just keep pitching it because this is a waste of time for anybody who comes on and talks with you.
You just said 2 minutes ago that you would encourage us to go back and keep doing the observations because we need to get 10 or 15 and then you'd consider the discussion. But now you've just said, don't bother with it.
Yeah, actually, when I on further examination, when I'm thinking, oh wait, he just brought up a picture of the sun and pretty much an inferior mirage and says that it's setting behind something invisible. Like, dude, there's nowhere to go from there, man. You're saying there's an invisible thing that the sun goes behind. I'm saying that the sphere model works and you can model it out and test it and corroborate it yourself. You're saying invisible walls happen for the sun, dude. I mean, it's done. Okay, the people that are true believers to this will continue to listen to you, but the people that can see right through this nonsense, this ad hoc fallacy continuously, they won't do it. Okay, and so you might be big on the flat Earth scene, but you know what? At the end of the day, you're not being objective. You're not being unbiased at all.
Yeah, but let me just point out what you've just done, because you said on the one hand you should carry on doing it. They come back with 15 photos, and then you said don't bother doing it because it's a waste of time. Well,
I said it's a waste of time. Yeah.
And then
after thinking about it,
Mick West said that it was an ideal place to go up the top of the tower because it's 500 feet above sea level to get the curve of the Earth. This is the comment on the left. And then when we did go up and get there and got no curve, he then changed his position and said, "Oh, I think the key point to think about here is that the horizon is actually flat." So on the one hand, he says it's flat, but on the other comment, a week before we did it, he said that it was the ideal place to go and see the curve. And you've done the exact same thing. So my question.
So now we're appealing to an argument that you have with another gentleman that I have nothing to do with.
No.
Okay. Do you understand that this is your argument tactic? This is your debate tactic.
The point is, this guy's made a contradictory statement that's the complete.
I don't care.
And you've done the exact same thing. And I consider this guy to be a prick. And now what does that make me think about you?
I don't care what you think about me, Anthony. I make a point, and really you should listen to it again because the point still stands that I thought about it and I said, you know what? Actually, Anthony, you probably shouldn't even waste your time because you just told me that the sun fucking sets behind some invisible wall. You just told me that, dude. So if you see curvature, there's going to be some invisible fucking fairy dust or something, bro. Like, just don't even waste your time. You've already figured it out.
Gravity's the invisible fairy dust.
It's just a joke, man. And I hope that you figure it out. And really, at the end of the day, you need to figure out that you're misleading people down a conspiratorial fucking rabbit hole that they have a hard time getting themselves out of. And when there are people like you that continue to pitch it, you are part of the problem. This is why I talk to the snake's head, because you are going to continue to get bigger and have more of these clowns that are just true believers. And it will self-confirm to you that there's something to this. Yeah, but then again, they think that there's millions of flat earthers. There's a few thousand on the internet.
Yeah, but it goes back. It goes back to the original point you made, which was earlier on, which was when you said you're being a fool, and I said, yeah, I might be being a fool, but at least I'm doing it with evidence. What are you being a fool with? Because you haven't brought any evidence.
Logic.
So logic and reason supersedes evidence, right?
I didn't say that, did I?
Yeah, but you're bringing logic, and I'm bringing evidence. So you're claiming logic and reason is stronger than evidence, essentially.
I didn't come here to bring evidence.
No, you come here to do what, though? Challenge my evidence or challenge my logic and reason?
Challenge your logic and reasoning, yes.
I have no logic behind the arguments that I make. It makes no sense. But the evidence.
Thank you for admitting that.
Yeah, I admitted that right at the beginning. You asked me.
I know. This is beautiful.
Logically, it makes. Do you think I enjoy being the only gay in the village?
Well, then don't be. Okay, look at the other evidence, man.
Because somebody planted a seed that we might not live on a ball. So when I've gone out and started looking for it, yeah, I've made mistakes and I've got things wrong. Sean's pointed them out, and I've been brave enough and man enough to admit them. But when I have got stuff right, people don't want to see it. Isn't that funny? Isn't that like Nelson's turning on Nelson's eye to someone and going, "No, I can't see it. I don't want to look at that evidence." Which is
what you're presenting is basically your cherry-picked evidence. You literally have admitted that you have curvature or what could be construed as curvature during the day, but that is discarded because you got more prime fucking evidence that goes along with your confirmation bias. Anybody can see this, man. Anybody can. And really, what I like to do is literally go on and challenge people because this is a belief system, and there are people that are misled by this and continue to grow the population of ignorant people. And at the end of the day, or at the end of my life, that I did this for a couple years because the self-transformation that I had out of it was well worth it. And I want other people to experience that yes, we can be not only misled by our governmental agencies and by anybody, lied to about anybody, but even people that we think that we should trust in a community of people that are supposedly about truth, they actually can lie to us and have ulterior motives. And this is very evident. This is something that we all need to question ourselves. And I hope that you question yourself every day, in that I don't really have, the as much preponderance of evidence to call the earth flat as I should. And there is evidence for the sphere. It could still be a sphere. And I think that you're there. Okay. And that's great, because there are some that say it's 100% not a sphere, and they will continue to believe that for the rest of their days. And I think that's a goddamn shame, because when you start to figure out this stuff is actually real, you start to give a little bit more credit to humanity and saying, wow, there are people that are fucking way smarter than us, that do put up rockets, that we're using the technology right now, basically, of giants. Okay. And for people to, on YouTube, a few thousand people to completely redefine the world that we live in is pathetic. And to go along with it is ridiculous. Okay. So I'm trying to help people out of this quagmire that they've put themselves into. But you know what? I do appreciate it. I am a gish gasher, and I do like to talk. And thanks for having me on, brother. I think that we're done here.
All right. Thank you very much for stopping by. And maybe if you come back when I got 15 photos of the same thing from 30 miles away, maybe we could reconsider, and we'll place it.
Hell yeah. I'll be here.
No worries. I'll keep you to that.
Cool, man.
Bye now. Bye-bye. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this because, should I? Actually, what I want to show just before I turn it off while he's gone, I want to show you a comment that I got from a guy, essentially because he saw me on Patricia's show and he wanted to give me, he wanted to show me his evidence that he'd got without me even being any part of it. And he did the same observation of Blackpool Tower that I did, but from about 2 miles further on. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I do want to show you what was actually said, because it's really good evidence. 6 days ago, the guy's commented and he just said, I saw you with Patricia last night and it was good. I've done Blackpool Tower from where did he do it from now? Talaka. He did it from Talaka in North Wales, which is 33 miles away. And essentially, he's got these photos that he said, you can do whatever you want with them. He's not bothered about glory or whatever. And the link is here. And basically, he's got the same footage that I've got, essentially. And the tower is here. Now, this is from a little bit further away than me, but most importantly, this goes beyond the barrier where the tower is supposed to disappear. I went for 30 miles because it was supposed to be, it's supposed to be at the point where it's about to disappear, but at 33 miles, it's gone, okay? It's no longer visible. We can't see it. So these are the pictures that he took. Now, essentially, you can see the tower changing its color because of the LED lights. It runs on an LED light cycle. Now, this evidence is incredible. Now, instantly, people are going to go, oh, yeah, but there's definitely the curve there, man, because you can see it. Well, what this is actually showing is that the tides play a really big role. I've asked him, does he know what time of the day and what date he went, because I believe that the tides is exactly what we're seeing here. And I'm sure you've all seen the evidence that supports this being the tide, and I may show it anyway. But he's got this from 33 miles away. The tower should be gone, should not be there. So unless you're getting Mick West magic bendy light bullshit, the reality is that tower is gone at this distance. So with regards to the tide showing the effect on the tower itself, I'm just going to show you the key pieces of evidence that I always show, because it puts it into context. And essentially, this is the kind of stuff that what's his name, that Tim will not accept, and he'll gish gash around it and then not address it, and then somehow try to claim that I've been shit. And I'm like, well, you haven't really dealt with the thing that we were dealing with. So it's called, where the fuck is it gone? It's called No Curve, No. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. It's quite an old video now, so there we go. No hump, no curve, only perspective. You'll notice that when he's took his photos, he's got these turbines in the foreground again, which is what we have in our stuff. So let me go back to his photo. I think it's, where is it gone? Have I kept it? Did I keep it open? I must have done. Let's minimize this and see, did I keep it? Yeah, I did. So I can find it on here. So you'll notice that he's got the turbines in the foreground. They're about 4 miles away on mine. I don't know how close these are. These look a little bit closer, but you can use the turbines as a guide to see the effect of the tide. And essentially, when I'm just trying to remember where it is. There it is. When we have befores and afters for the tide. Now this is at low tide, and you can see the tide drops in at the bottom part of these stanchions on the turbines. But when the tide is high, you see that they rise up the turbine to this point. So when they're low, they're down here. When they're high, they're further up. But look at the effect it has on the tide. tower. On this night occasion when the tide was high, the tower was lit in blue, but there's no blue on that image. We've looked at it and it's just not there. So that's what the picture's like when it was daytime. That's the picture when it was at nighttime, but high tide and low tide. So we know that tides play a really big role, and I never ever considered that they would do, but we know that they do. So when he was giving us his evidence, and anyone that goes, oh, but that's definitely curve, it's the tide. It's all it is the tide. It's the exact same thing that we've seen. So at high tide, it'll be up here somewhere. At low tide, it'll be down here somewhere, and that's all it is. But this is the evidence that people really do need to see, and I'll keep beating my drum about it because it's important. We all need to see this kind of stuff, and everybody can validate it. They can go back to where I did it from at 30 miles away, or at Talaka Beach at 32 miles away, and essentially that's it. It's repeatable, which is better than most of the evidence that we don't get from NASA, because most of the evidence that we don't get from NASA we want to see, and they won't give it us. And the evidence that they do give, most of it we can't repeat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my chat window. I'm just trying to find where it's gone. Now, send me those new images and I'll compare them on the wind farm stanchions. What I'll do is I'll just open up the chat. If he snipes it and fucks it off, he does it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'll just put the link in publicly. Copy it, paste it publicly. It's an open chat. Anybody wants to join, come in and we'll have a quick chat until he either ends it or until my tea's done. But we'll have, say, 15 minutes as a conclusion, and we'll just see where it ends up going. So open chat, anybody that wants to come in, be it ball or flat, apart from Neg, you're not coming in. Tides can't obscure objects higher than the tides. Neg, I've just shown how it does it. Okay, so Cigar, P-Mars, welcome. Yo. Come on then, P-Mars, tell me how shit I was.
How shit you did?
Yeah, because you never give me any compliments. You never give me any compliments.
Yeah, I think Tim kind of murdered you there, but...
Really?
Yeah, you were sucking peckers.
Oh, come on. You got his bum smacked? So who's this cigar guy? What's your name, my friend? I've not seen you before.
My name is Cigar Face.
Are you in the UK, America?
I'm in Texas, nigga.
All right.
You've been exposed. You've been exposed. You've been exposed.
21, where are you from, my friend?
I'm from Compton, nigga.
From Compton.
Compton, the house, nigga.
So Tupac land, yeah?
Oh, easy, nigga.
What?
Easy motherfucking E.
Soundly, do you want to join us in chat? We can have a quick chat about your Ponchara train whilst you're in. Soundly, get your ass in here, dude. It's for you, that Soundly, come in.
Do you live in a radio station?
No, I just made it look a little bit better than a radiator and a back door, because that's what I had beforehand. Nathan kind of told me it looked a bit shit.
Looks like a radio station.
Yeah, it's trying to make it look that way. It was just I had a really good camera, I had a really good microphone, but I had shit backdrop, and Nathan just said it looks shit, and I was like, fuck you, dick, and he was like, quite right, and I was like, right, how do I make it look better? And that's what I had to do next. I had to do something. So if Soundly comes in, gents, 21 and Cigar, P-Mars, would you respectfully be quiet for a bit whilst we chat? Because Soundly's actually got evidence to the contrary, and it actually would be credible in terms of a discussion if we could actually have a conversation. So it'd be great if you could respect the conversation and allow it to flow. If not, then I'll just end it. But if you're respectful and let Soundly talk, it'll be an interesting conclusion to the show, because he does have evidence of curve, or evidence of he claims.
Sounds like a plan.
You've been exposed, nigga.
Oh, he's in. Soundly is in. Right, gents, would you mute yourself and just stay on mute for a bit? Soundly, welcome.
Hey, hold on. Let me mute the YouTube version here.
Sure.
Oh, there we go. Hey, what's up, guys?
You got smoke crack before, nigga?
Thanks for joining. 21, pack it in. So let's talk with the Lake Ponchara train.
Yeah, let's talk Punch Train.
So essentially, I've seen some of your most recent videos. 24 hours ago, you put a couple on, smaller ones.
Yeah, I've put a number of videos out there now.
I've not seen all of them. I've seen
there's like 30 or 40 videos with like hundreds of different observations and a bunch of different videos.
Well, I've not seen all of them. I've just seen the ones that I've seen a few that you did most recently to do with the bridge. And my position on it is I left it for somebody else because I had my own meal on my own plate. But my position on it is that, well, you've got evidence of curve at 18 miles that conflicts with my evidence at 30 miles. So I was just wondering why do you attribute your evidence to curvature when my evidence is clearly not curvature? They're at complete, like, the contrasting evidences. And I think it's fair to say that is a fair criticism, because I've got evidence that's different to yours. Would you agree that's a fair criticism?
No, I don't. I don't agree it's a fair criticism. And the reason why is because you're looking at your evidence and you're saying it's based on tides. Well, tides that are below your tower cannot obstruct your tower. That is complete nonsense. Things that are below the tower cannot obstruct things that are above it. I mean, this is just basic geometry. So
yeah, but Tim himself
it's
said
not-
that
that's
Tim himself said that a mountain in the foreground that's small can drown out a mountain in the background that's big. So you're contradicting what Tim said. So between the two, one of them,
Anthony, is the water level or not?
I don't know. It does appear to be level, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that water is always level?
No.
Okay.
Yes,
so then
kind of.
you're not a flat earther. So water can curve.
Did you say I'm not a flat earther?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe we live on a ball. That makes me, by definition, a flat earther.
Right. Well, the flat Earth argument is that water is always level.
Well, that's Dell's argument. It's not necessarily mine.
Okay, you guys need to get together and come up with a consistent model so we know what to debunk. Because
let's deal with.
You can't just arbitrarily decide the water's curved when it's convenient for you.
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that. I'm not arbitrarily deciding that. I've got the evidence that shows that when the tide rises in the foreground at 4 miles away, the tower in the background is drowned out.
Exactly. But because the water level's higher,
In the foreground.
curve is going to obstruct more. That's
Yeah, but do you agree that if the tide rises by, say, 2 meters in, like, all the way evenly right the way across, that 2 meters when it's close to you is more significant and more pronounced than the 2 meters when it's 30 miles away?
Yeah, of course. But let me ask you this. How is the calculation made for obstruction? It's made based on the distance from the center. I'm talking about the conventional model. It's made based on the distance from the center of the earth to the surface.
Sure.
So when the surface rises, as in the tides get higher, or you're at a lake that's thousands of feet in the mountain, then you have to take that into your calculation.
Agreed. But do you agree that
So if you take that into your calculation, then the conventional calculations will predict the obstruction height of that tower, and they match.
Well, they don't match, did he? Because my first comment, and I know you saw it because you quoted it, I said, so we live on a basketball. And the reason why I said that is because my evidence at 30 miles...
What does that have to do with your tower and the obstruction height of your tower?
Because that which you claim to be curve is inconsistent with my evidence that claims not to have curve. So we're at a conflict.
That's not true. Your evidence is being misinterpreted by you.
I'd say the same about you. I'd say this. Do you want to pull up one of your...
My evidence shows freaking curvature plain as day, dude. You cannot even ignore that. It's basically like laying a ruler down on top of the water.
No, it doesn't. Do you want to present your screen and show us the evidence so we can discuss why it is that I'm misinterpreting mine and why you're misinterpreting yours, and let people decide for themselves?
Okay,
I'll criticize yours.
I've just explained why you're not taking into account that the obstruction height is obviously going to change by conventional measurement. It will change for Black Bull Tower. Now, by flat Earth geometry, the tower cannot be obstructed. It can't be. Yes, you've shown me pictures of obstruction.
Yeah, but the problem
based on the conventional model. That's the whole point.
No. I showed you that the tide that's only 4.5 miles away, because it's being demonstrated on the turbines 4.5 miles away, is being obstructing the tower. Now that tells me that the tide in the foreground.
Why are you intentionally obfuscating this?
I'm evidentially supporting my assertion.
No, you're not. You're intentionally obfuscating now, because I've already explained this to you. When the water level rises, then you have to take that into your calculation. You have to take that into your calculation because now it's further away from the center of the earth.
And I've took it into consideration, or with my calculation, based on the fact that I showed you the turbines are only 4 miles away.
So what does that have to do with anything? Nothing. You're obfuscating again.
No, I'm not obfuscating. You're ignoring. You're dismissing or ignoring.
I'm not ignoring anything. I'm telling you I know how to do this. I'm not asking or guessing you.
All right. So then maybe you could help me and tell me why it is that my evidence at 29 miles shows virtually no curve. Yours is showing loads.
It does show curve. The picture you just showed the tower being obstructed. That is not possible on a flat Earth, period.
The picture I showed, you mean the daytime, nighttime picture?
You should be able to see the building below the tower. In that picture where you showed the high tide, you should be able to see the building below the tower. Unless the tower is in the water and flooded, then you should be able to see the building below the tower.
All right, let's go with that. Let's just say that you're right. Where's the curve on that one? Why is that conflicting with your evidence? Because the curve is meant to be just below that ball part at the top. Why does that conflict so massively with your evidence that is curved by your assertion?
Is this the same picture that Sean and Dazza showed that you weren't taken from the correct location? I don't even know this picture. I mean, I've seen this picture before, but I have no information about it to know.
All right, well, let me put it.
I don't know why you want to obfuscate again and go and switch and go to a different topic. Let's go to the picture that you were just talking about, where you're claiming that the tide is somehow obstructing a building which is not in the water.
Okay,
that's not possible. Right, I don't care. And even if the calculation doesn't match up with a building that's being obstructed, even if that were the case, then your evidence would be for a larger ball. It would not be for a flat plane.
No, my evidence for a larger ball would be based on the black image at nighttime that you just didn't want to speak about. This evidence tells me that the tide in the foreground drowns out that in the background, and it's because of perspective.
I agree. No, it's not because of perspective.
Yeah, it is.
The tide obfuscates, or the tide obstructs the tower the same way that it's predicted to do by the conventional calculation.
But it doesn't know.
It has nothing to do with perspective. Perspective works vertically and works in the X, Y, and Z. I mean, it doesn't matter which direction you look. Things shrink proportionally to their distance.
I had a physicist on to tell me the effect of the tides on the tower from this distance, and he did it on AutoCAD. He put the tides into the calculation and demonstrated it on AutoCAD, and they were minuscule. They were not as severe as this. And that leads me to believe that the only way that this can be demonstrated, or the only way that this can be interpreted, is that the tide in the foreground at 4 miles away is drowning out the thing in the background, and that is perspective, nothing more. So if you don't agree, that's fine, but then I'll give it you. You can have that one. That then takes me back to the black image. Why does that conflict so much with your curvature at 18 miles when this is at 29?
Chris Truth Seeker has fat titties.
Say again?
That's just so funny. Yo, big up fucking Cigar Face and all the rebels in the building right now. Yo, Anthony, you don't even realize. You're amongst the superstars right now. Where's my boys at? We got FaZe up in here too now. Peace to 21 Savage up in the building.
Sandy, are you still there?
Yo, man, Chris Truth Seeker got them man titties dead.
Yo, man, come on, man.
Is Soundly still there, or is he gone?
Soundly's muted. Maybe he doesn't know.
Did someone mute him or what?
Soundly, do you want to unmute yourself? Because I'd really like to hear the conclusion of this.
I'll be right back. I'm
all right.
making coffee. Oh.
Soundly, you have to unmute yourself if you.
Must have slipped on a banana or some shit, nigga.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Is Soundly still here, or is he gone?
Well, he's on the panel, but he's muted, so I don't know what's happening.
All right, we'll give him say 60 seconds, and I'll just wrap it up.
I did kind of want to talk about. I was on Bro Sanchez last night, right?
Sure, go on.
And I presented some evidence that I feel debunks flat Earth, right? Because we can take a photo of showing the sun, right? Showing a shadow of a mountain on the underside of a cloud. Okay.
Yeah.
So in my mind, this is like evidence that the sun is a lower altitude than the mountain for it to project a shadow of the mountain on the underside of a cloud. I presented that to Bro Sanchez, and he tried to debunk it with a Rob Skiba video. Well, Rob Skiba is a well-known liar, and at the very beginning of his video, he says that because the atmosphere is made of water droplets, which is true, that the atmosphere has this like magnification, he says the atmosphere basically magnifies objects, and he uses this, like he'll do these experiments, well he'll use like a magnifying
First off,
glass,
objection to the character.
To lie to people.
The
I totally agree. I was going to ask, what evidence have you got that Rob Skiba is a liar? Because he's one of the most normal people out there.
Well, I mean, he's on Truth Frequency, so that's like suspect right there. But I mean, he's saying that the atmosphere magnifies things, and it clearly doesn't. So that's a lie. Well, he's like using it to explain away things that completely debunk the flat Earth. A lie.
He has demonstrated the atmosphere magnifying stuff. Did you not see the videos where he showed how big the skyline was in relation to the car?
Yes.
And did you not agree that
Are you talking about looming?
I don't know, when he was on Lake Chicago, wasn't it? When he was looking at the Chicago skyline from Lake, what was the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed how big it was, and he was like, look at the size of the fucking buildings. And I was like, yeah, he has got a point there. I mean, do you not agree that was a perfect demonstration of whatever that magnification was, or do you think there was something else going on there?
I know that there's this thing looming. There might be some magnification on the horizon or something but it's like the way he uses that to debunk things like shadows on the underside of clouds, or how the sun is obstructed from the bottom to the top, is a definite lie. He's lying to people. He's shouldn't belong in any truth community. But the problem is that truthers have no discernment, right? And they don't actually vet things that people say on these shows. They just take them with blind faith, just like the mainstream takes whatever CNN says with blind faith. And they think they're superior to mainstream people when they're exactly the same.
Respectfully,
they're followers.
I'm going to make two comments there. One, the attempted character assassination of Rob Skiba is, in my opinion, is unjustified. The guy is not a liar. He looks like he's one of the most honest, straight-talking people you can ever come to meet.
He's not, though.
Yeah, but unless there's evidence that he's lied, and you have to prove
there is evidence that he's lied.
Yeah, well, show it.
And he's a cunt.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just supposed to randomly show it arbitrarily in a hangout that just happened.
You made the assertion that he's a lying cunt. Now, forget about the cunt.
Yes.
No,
Dude,
I didn't say cunt.
He says
He smokes crack, nigga.
He says the atmosphere magnifies shit, but like it doesn't. Like you look at a plane, look at a fucking plane, it doesn't get magnified.
Yeah, but you're looking right up when you're looking at a plane, aren't you? You're not.
Yeah. No, you're looking out at them as they're flying over the horizon, which can be seen, by the way, with a telescope.
All scientists in the world agree that the atmosphere doesn't magnify shit. There's some like looming effects on the horizon, and he takes that into like ad hoc hypothesis land to explain away easily things that debunk the flat Earth.
Here's the thing, Anthony, is that when you actually build like an AutoCAD model of the towers, the transmission lines, right? Mm-hmm. On a model of a sphere that has the radius of Earth, and you put them out there, it looks exactly like my observation. Yeah, it looks exactly like it. So the only thing this is what you're saying. You're saying that there's some arbitrary atmospheric effect that we don't know what it is, some mystical effect that somehow magically, which by the way, atmospheric effects are known to be very variable and change based on weather and conditions. So somehow all these atmospheric effects always average out to look exactly like the globe.
You know what, Stanley?
That is absurd.
I'll give you that. But my question would be, why does your evidence not match similar to what mine would be? Because if your evidence is right,
you're misinterpreting your evidence, which are
no. Hang on. There's 2 points.
You got a bigger dick.
We'll deal with the misinterpretation point in a minute. But if you're saying that your evidence is correct and the interpretation of your evidence is correct, and you say that it's predictable in terms of your model makes predictions that are reliable, why is it that when we could use your evidence to make a prediction of my evidence, it's not doing anything like what it should be doing? Like I said, mine's at 29 miles.
Dude, here's the thing about my evidence. I've laid out where the location is, where I was standing, showed people how to get there, put it on the map, traced out the towers. I've done everything, shown all the GPS locations. I've actually taken wide-angle shots of my locations. I've gone back in multiple various weather conditions, hot, cool, raining, at night, per your request. I went and took a 30-second exposure per your request. And at night, the lights on the freaking towers are curving. Every single freaking piece of evidence that I have shows curvature. And it's hundreds of photos now.
Why does it not match mine then? Is mine special? Because let's be honest, if it was
no, I'm explaining to you it all out. Now, where is the hundreds of thousands of photos proving that you're at the location you're saying, and where are your calculations? Show them to. Because the reality is there's obstruction in your picture. You can clearly see that the tower is being obstructed. All right. That's all there is to it.
In this image, it has the GPS coordinates. Maybe it doesn't do it there. Hang on.
Yeah, that's the waves, motherfucker.
Yeah, and GPS coordinates, as your flat Earth friends have told me, can easily be changed in the metadata. So what they've asked me to do is live stream my location on YouTube, which I did.
Yeah, but listen.
Okay. So where's your live stream? Where's your live stream showing that you're at that location?
Where's your live stream, nigga?
Those GPS coordinates match the GPS coordinates on Google Earth.
Those GPS coordinates can be changed.
But they match.
It's a file.
Yeah, but they match the coordinates on Earth.
So what? You can edit them and change them right now. Probably you can double click that and change it right now.
No, I don't believe I can. And if I can, I don't know how to do it. It doesn't allow me to do what you just said. So if you can do it,
you can change metadata in files, obviously.
Maybe you can.
It's a file.
Yeah, but maybe you can, but I haven't done that. My point is, this matches where I say I was on the beach. The point is...
Yeah, and where you were is taking pictures of obstruction by the horizon, which can't happen on a flat Earth.
Tell me what the obstruction is on the horizon.
You keep going back to this picture. Go back to the other picture with the tides and the better picture that the other person brought up. I have no idea what this picture is, where it's from, nothing about it.
Well, you've got the GPS, which is what Dazzler requests and demands, and he's got it, and he hasn't come back to me on it. So, I mean, again, I make the point. This has got the GPS coordinates in it. I have not changed it, and neither is the guy that's got the other copy of it that took the same photo as me, right? We both have the same image. It's repeatable. Anybody can validate those GPS coordinates to be where I was, okay?
Can you show me the building below the tower in that picture, please?
The building below the tower, yes. Where the tower stops is where the building starts. The building is not illuminated. That is at the base of the tower, so we know that we are at the point where the building starts and the tower stops.
It looks like the horizon is actually obstructing the building right there, if I'm honest with what it looks like to me.
Well, I mean, maybe, but let's look at the other evidence in the same photo. That's a roller coaster at 235 feet, and that's at the peak of the roller coaster. So we're seeing the roller coaster.
You keep presenting evidence. Yeah. We keep saying it's ambiguous, and then you keep popping to more ambiguous evidence.
No,
I mean, you're not proving anything. All you're doing is showing ambiguous evidence.
I'm happy for you to say that it's ambiguous, and I'll accept it on that basis because you want it to be ambiguous. My question is, why is My question is,
it's objectively ambiguous. It has nothing to do with my desires.
It's subjectively to soundly, but I'll accept it because you want it to be you want it to be ambiguous.
No, it's objectively.
My question is, why does your evidence not match that? Because yours is only 18 miles, and you got curved like a basketball. I'm at 30 miles and got fuck all curve.
Again, let's take a step back and let's talk about this one more time. Okay, when you model this scene that I'm taking pictures of in a CAD program, you see the same exact extreme curvature. Therefore, the model predicts that extreme curvature. So yes, that's exactly what you would expect to see if the Earth were a globe, with the radius predicted or with the radius provided by the conventional model.
But sadly, the evidence is going against the CAD. Evidence is going against that. Like the CAD make it say what it wants, but reality is saying something else, right? That's the reason why we're still here.
The CAD matches the reality. That's the truth.
Wow, it's a leap.
I want to have them answered immediately. But why should I? I'm going to say, please. Drop dead. I don't do requests.
That would be like, you're going in so much to, like, you're buying into a model.
I'm not buying into a model. I'm saying, okay.
No, you're buying CAD as a model.
I'm saying,
hold on. Is CAD a model or is it not?
Yeah. Here's the point, right? You can tell the truthiness of a model based on its practical application.
Did you just use the term truthiness?
Truthiness. Yes.
Exactly.
You can tell.
Now. We got ridiculed for so long saying truthiness.
So you can tell the credibility of a model based on its practical application. When the model
its vocabulary?
When the model matches reality, then you have validation of both.
Yeah, but the problem is your model is supposed to be predictable, and your model. We're talking about my evidence and how I'm misinterpreting it at the moment. We're not talking about yours. We'll come to yours in a minute.
I'm talking about mine.
Yeah, but we're talking
about yours. You can talk about your ambiguous pictures all you want, but the picture that you showed with the tides obviously shows obstruction. There's no obstruction is only possible on a globe. Again, it cannot happen on a flat plane. End of conversation. That's all there is to it.
So why is it that when we look up to the horizon, and we do look up to the horizon, we don't look down, which you would have to do at all times?
No, we look down at the horizon.
Why is
the horizon is below eye level?
Yeah, but we still have to look up.
No, you look down. No, you don't. You look down.
All right. So basically,
the horizon.
Basically, your position is that my evidence is what was the word you used?
Ambiguous.
Yeah, my evidence is ambiguous, but yours is correct. Okay. All right. Let's accept that. What's ambiguous about my evidence in terms of itself? Where am I going wrong with it? How is it ambiguous in terms of anything? What's ambiguous about it? Just point it out.
I know nothing about that night shot that you had there. I don't know anything about.
So how can you assert that it's ambiguous if you know nothing about it?
Because you can't tell where the obstruction is. It looks like the building's being obstructed, doesn't it? And then you say, well, no, the building's not being obstructed because it's not lit up. You just can't see it. Well, I disagree. There you go. That's called ambiguity.
No. The ambiguity is the fact that it's not below the ball of the tower. The tower's up here, and that's where the curve should be.
The tower is being cut off by the horizon in that black night shot picture. You can see that clearly.
The problem is the predictable model.
Your natural inclination when you look at that picture is to say that the tower is sitting right on top of the horizon, which means that the building that the tower is actually sitting on is being obstructed by the horizon. That's all there is to it. If there's any obstruction at all, then it defeats the flat Earth.
So which bit of this bit don't you get then? Because that's what we're supposed to see. According to Mick West, the creator of Metabunk, that he got this thing on Google Earth and showed us what we should see at that distance, but that's what we actually see. And you claim that's ambiguous. I'm not being funny, but there's nothing ambiguous about it. You can see the whole tower. It's definitely not matching that.
Can you see the building, which is above the water, that is below the tower? Can you see that? No, you cannot. It's being obstructed. Why is it being obstructed?
If I show you, because it's dark and it's not illuminated. If I show you what these two lights are that are on the pier, that is on the sea, and it's about 100 feet tall, would you accept that we're seeing the whole tower?
What? I don't care if you're seeing the whole tower. You're not seeing the building.
These are only 100 feet tall.
Is there any obstruction? Is there any obstruction in that picture? Yes or no?
I don't know. I can't see. It's dark.
Okay, it's ambiguous. Exactly.
No, but what we can see is that the roller. How is it ambiguous?
Because we can see where the horizon line is, and I can tell you that the building is being obstructed. Obviously. I mean, are you looking at the same picture as me?
Obviously not, because the reality is what would make this picture ambiguous, if ambiguous is the correct word. Oh, bollocks, wrong wrong colour would be if we were talking about the horizon and we were arguing over whether the horizon matched the image that we saw. Now, let's just say that that's where the obscurity was. Let's just say it was about there.
So
hang on.
Hang on. I'm not hanging on. I'm going to respond to your point.
If we were arguing ambiguity and we were and that didn't exist, that picture did not exist, and we were left with the prediction that we were supposed to see, but we actually got captured. I'll have to go all the way back to it because I've got my other handful. If we actually captured that image and that's where the horizon was, that'd be ambiguous because you can't tell how close it is. You'd be arguing over where the horizon is and does it match or not. But we're not arguing over that. We're arguing that we see the whole tower and it's nowhere near where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, now, I don't really care that. I don't really care about what the conventional models is because you know what? We can. I don't care like what you think the conventional models should be saying what the obstruction height should be.
You don't care that you spent a whole bunch of money on AutoCAD and
you're missing the point.
You don't care that you spent a whole bunch of money on an AutoCAD system and it doesn't work, bro.
Absolutely, don't care how much Anthony has spent money on it. That's exactly right. I don't care how much money Anthony has spent.
Right, but your AutoCAD like that's wrong. It doesn't represent.
No, it's
reality,
not.
Right?
Refraction in atmospheric anomalies obviously cause you to see further.
Right. But your AutoCAD's wrong, right?
No, the AutoCAD is not wrong. It's a model.
Man, we've got evidence that it's going against it, right? So
Okay,
why do you take a model over the reality?
I don't. My pictures are reality.
And do you have a problem with that?
This is a classic obfuscation technique. I mean, we're basically just arguing about if it's obstructed enough.
No, it's about the truthiness of the matter.
No, it's about is it obstructed enough to match a model with average refraction? That's what we're arguing about.
No,
I don't care. It's obstructed. Period. It's obstructed by the horizon.
No.
If it's obstructed by the horizon at all, it's not flat. End of conversation.
Listen,
you are showing evidence for a globe right now.
No,
that's what's going on here, and you don't even realize that because you're freaking brainwashed.
No, you don't realize it because if I was showing a photograph that supported the globe, it would look like that. It doesn't look like that.
Only if the refraction is average refraction.
Right, and have you seen how much?
Can you prove that there is average refraction?
Can you prove refraction?
Have you
research is...
Listen, when you start talking refraction, right? I'm dealing with Mick West, and I'm not even going to deal with it with you because you think refraction allows you to see around the curve of the Earth, and it's complete bullshit. Mick West thinks that
it happens. What are you talking about? Complete bullshit. It's observed by people.
Can't be proven, though, can it?
Yeah, it can be proven.
No, it can't. Nobody's
by what? AutoCAD?
No,
by geodesy.
Yeah,
the entire field that deals with measuring the Earth.
Geodetic.
Right. And isn't like so? Why? How come? So it's not. We can agree that the measurements of what we've been given of the globe are wrong, right?
No,
because we've got tectonic plates. We've got Kansas, which is 400 miles perceptibly flat, except for 20 feet, maybe. There's no gradient. Even your argument in regards to Polaris at 69 miles, dropping 1 degree in the sky, is due to perspective potentially.
Yo, on AutoCAD, you don't need a theodolite to see to notice that the horizon isn't at eye level.
Stanley, I'd like to invite you to present your evidence for either the pylons or for the bridge, just for the people that haven't seen it, because I'd like to talk about your evidence at this point. So would you mind sharing your screen so we can see your photos? And
yeah, let me try and get my desktop to a point. It'll take me a second here.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just having
everything Stanley has said has made sense to me. Like when I've looked into flat Earth, like yeah, he's right. Like the fact that obstruction it can't happen on that model, and
I agree with you. It does make sense.
22 Savage in the building.
Shout out to Charlie as well. He always gives me shit. Or she.
Charlie was actually on a panel last week, and he is a scientist who has spent time in Antarctica and firsthand observed the 24-hour sun.
But
he talked about how easy it is to go to Antarctica, right? And like flat earthers could do this and stuff, but they don't because, they don't want to do anything apparently to prove that they're wrong for some reason. So, like, when basically the flat earther's response to Charlie, he had to accuse him of being an agent because he couldn't deal with the fact that Charlie has done experiments and has, confirmed for himself that we do indeed live on a spherical Earth. So he has to call the guy an agent and liar. And I mean, it's just like that's what flat Earth arguments are. It's just like crap. It's like believing in this dark sun called Rahu. It's crap.
Well, it's documented. Do you think that bald earthers don't call me a liar?
Well, I think they do, but I think you're just like wrong. I don't think you're intentionally trying to deceive people.
Well, in fact, I'll take that.
You believe in like propaganda, I guess, but like I don't know. Everyone has fallen victim. We've all fallen victim to propaganda. Like no one is 100% correct.
The only reason why I'll talk to anybody like Tim, for example, is because I don't believe that Tim knows that we live on a ball. I believe that Tim believes he lives on a ball, but doesn't know for a fact one way or the other. In the same way that I don't know one way or the other, and anybody else in the chat knows. Otherwise, nobody would be here even talking about it. It'd be completely and utterly settled. No discussion.
Well, if we're talking about knowledge is a belief based on facts and evidence. And Tim certainly has knowledge that we live on a sphere because he has done a lot of research on these topics.
Well, he didn't present any evidence tonight, and I was trying to do it.
I felt like he did. I felt like he just won't accept the evidence. That's what I mean. That's just maybe I'm biased.
He bombed hard. Like it was.
All right.
Yeah, just biased.
I mean, when I was on Bro Sanchez last night, I was blocked. You know, like flat earthers have to basically silence all dissenting voice.
Well, I don't silence you.
They can't. No, you don't. But
I didn't silence them.
No, you didn't. But like that's what I experience from most of my experiences with flat earthers is they won't even listen to me. They will just block me and try and silence me.
Well, you're also a bit of a dick sometimes.
Yeah, you are.
Well, actually, I'm not.
You are.
No, actually, I'm not.
And even when you are a dick,
can you please present evidence of this? Because I've actually been extremely patient and nice with flat earthers, and they have shown my house and address and phone number, and I haven't done anything like this to them.
Yeah, but
not been a dick. I've been treated very badly by flat earthers. If we want to talk about that shit, Isa.
P-Mars, listen.
So let's be fair. Hey, let's be fair. Let's just be fair.
Hey, P-Mars, but that's people.
I don't care. Let's be fair. I have been nice and patient to everyone, and I've been treated like shit by the community, and I get blocked, and my voice is silenced, not because I'm an asshole, because I believe in a sphere Earth. That is the truth. Don't try and sugarcoat that shit, please. Yeah, I experienced that shit, and I know you saw that, Isaac.
I know, but it's also like you got to remember this, though, P-Mars. It's like, this is the real world, bro. It's like people can have opinions. People are going to think certain ways.
Isa, that has nothing to do with my point.
Motherfuckers not going to like motherfuckers.
I was treated badly, and I treated people. You said they silenced me because I'm a dick. That is not true. I am silenced because I disagree. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm just saying. I just want to get the facts straight for people listening.
P-Mars,
I am phased. Have I been nice to you? You've experienced it.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's how I treat everyone. And
right. And it's intellectual back and forth. Though.
Yeah,
that's all.
It's like two personalities, man. Sometimes it's the victim, and that's what the other people call you out on. They always like P-Mars always crying about flat earthers bullying him or whatever.
And I'd agree. I would agree. But listen, P-Mars, I was in with Hillbilly the other day, and before you came in, there was just a normal conversation. Now, whatever shit's gone on with you and Hillbilly, I'm not bothered about, and I'm not going to comment on it. But all I will say is that the minute you came in, it escalated out of the stratosphere, and it all went crazy. Crazy shit happened, and I don't know why. But there was obviously a bit of history with you two guys. So he obviously thinks that you were bad in some way.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You want to know the history between me and Hillbilly? I'll tell you real quick. I was on a panel with him. We were talking about 9/11. He was like, "Oh, good info." I was talking about symbolism and black magic and all the occult. I'm all into that stuff, conspiracy stuff. And he was all like, "Great information, P-Mar. Really appreciated you having you on, being really nice to me." Then like he found out I was a baller and goes on and like throws me under the bus and talks all this shit about me and makes up rumors. I didn't do anything. He went from being nice to me, treating me with respect, to just instantly flipping only because he found out I was a baller. I did nothing to him.
He must have felt that you did. But I mean, to be honest, I don't agree with the way that he dealt with you. And I was going to stand up for you before either you left or he kicked you, whichever it was. I don't know what happened. But I was going to stand up for you. It's not the way to treat people. And he shouldn't have spoke to you the way he did. But he obviously had to do it.
I mean, dude, honestly, if you actually listen to my shows, like I go on about ethics and morality and how like we should treat people better. Because in my opinion, the New World Order and the powers that be have us brainwashed to be. They're attacking our morals. They're attacking family unit. They got us at each other's throats over politics, religion, the fucking shape of the earth. Apparently, it's stupid, man. We should treat each other with respect and kindness, and that's my message, man. So how can you say like I'm a dick to people? I don't get it.
Yeah, you've always been P-Mars. You've always been fun. Like you're always trying to push the limit of like having fun or like making something funny, making something lighthearted, and like and I that's really But there's also like I don't know. I've seen so many shades of this conversation that I would hope it's like I don't know. That's why I like having my show. I'm glad Riley holds his show the same way in a certain respect, and then you have the other pockets of people that really don't want to fucking hear it anymore, which they're entitled to. But I wouldn't get all emotional about it, I mean, but what sucks is they did, what's happened.
P-Mars, there's a question in chat. What's your excuse for being rude to IPS on your own show, you lying ass muppet? How do you respond to that?
Well, my show isn't about, my show is a comedy platform, and I was drunk as fuck, and, I was trying to be funny. When I'm being an asshole, I'm on my show, it's kind of like an act. I'm just trying to make people laugh. It's not, really me.
I'm back.
It's, entertainment.
All right, hang on. So, Sean Hufford, can I send you a picture on Skype, please, and have you look at the metadata and then GPS coordinates?
Tell him as long as it's got some tits in it.
Sure, send it over, Sean. Is it something to do with what we were talking with Soundly and me, or is it something completely unrelated? But yeah, fire it over. So can I send you a picture on Skype and then have you look at the metadata and then the GPS coordinates? Sure. By the way, how do you change the GPS, the metadata on a photo? Can you do it? The metadata. Give the counselor.
Oh, you tried your best.
All right, got some samples, Anthony, if you want to see.
Just hang on a sec. It's working on mine. Right again. Try restarting your machine.
You tried your best.
Right, so let me just deal with Sean before we come back to PMARS. Sean, can I do this publicly or should I do this privately off the air? Let's just see what Sean says. Listen, PMARS.
Tried your best, even though it wasn't.
Do it publicly.
And whatever, people are saying I'm crying and stuff, but I'd like to see how they react when a bunch of people on YouTube make up lies and rumors about them. I mean, I'm just sharing my experience. I don't really care. I tried to be a part of the Flat Earth community, and then they just treated me like shit. That's just my experience. I'm sharing, I'm not crying.
Sean, you appear to have sent me a shitload of files here. Right, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here, so I'm going to do this live so I can try and interpret what I'm meant to be doing. Josh, what are you doing, dude? Josh, while you sort yourself out, I'm going to stick you on mute so that you can mute the watch page. Sean, keep in mind, in no way am I saying that you or Ranty has done this. Still not working. Have you restarted? Are you getting the right hole? You may have to give it a minute and I'll look at it in a sec. It's the Statue of Liberty. Right, okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that people can see what I'm doing. Present to everybody. All right, so, Sean, this is what I appeared to get. What am I meant to be doing with this here? What am I doing here? Statue of Liberty, rah. So I need to extract to a specified folder. Desktop. Destination path. Well, I'll call this /Sean. Extract to there. Did I do that then? I don't think I did. Am I still here? Why has everyone gone quiet? Oh, right, okay, I'm leading the path. Right, so, I don't even use WinRAR. Desktop /Sean. Okay, right, so it should be done. Shut up, Sean. Right, so open the properties, click details. So I'm guessing he's going to want me to go into Google Earth and then transpose. So if I, I just need to go to the Statue of Liberty and check him and see how close the Statue of Liberty. Let's go into it. So basically, it kind of needs to be about there, doesn't it? So we've got 40, so the north value is 40, 41, 20, 84, and the north value is latitude 53, and then west 74 and 3. So if I kind of paste it in those coordinates, you will like it. All right, so I'll have to type it in, won't I? So 53, 48.
The 8-pointed star, Statue of Liberty. Interesting.
Got a few there, and then comma, and then 3.
Did you know the Statue of Liberty is the goddess Isis?
Whilst you're on PMARS, what I would say, if you don't mind a little bit of, I think, fair criticism, there are times when you can be a dick because you lose your temper, and the way you manifest your temper loss is by swearing and shouting at people. And it's human, we all do it.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to work.
Yeah, but I don't think that makes me a dick if I'm in an argument and I lose my temper and I get mad.
No, that makes you human.
Yeah, I actually am really fair and nice to people. Like if you get to know me, like
yeah, but the way that you
and I admitted I was wrong that one time when I was arguing with you. Like I just I try to be nice and fair and look at the other side.
I think that should work now.
So I don't think I'm a dick.
Why?
Sometimes you are, man.
Yeah, I would agree. There are times when you do come across as a dick, but
that's all it is. Like when we're in the chat, everyone's saying nice things. Everyone's saying P Mars is the greatest closet flat earther there is, right? Because we know you know your shit, dude. And like this comes up in every hangout that I see you in. Like every single one, you know what I mean? But then some other times you flip the fuck out and like people aren't gonna react positively to that, you know what I mean? They're gonna be like, yeah, this guy's a fucking drama setter. Like
Sean,
I'd say I'm more sanctimonious than a dick.
Sean, I'm trying to do it, but it's not working, so I'm obviously getting something wrong. I don't know how to copy and paste it from there without. Maybe I can copy and paste it. No, I don't think I can. Let me try it.
Because I think sometimes people walk on eggshells and they're afraid to say something because you'll come off like a dick. But sometimes like you need some like. Yesterday I was kind of harsh on a guy who I like, but I just felt it's like no one's gonna tell him the truth, and like sometimes telling someone the truth is kind of being a dick, but it's needed.
Yeah, but I think the way that you do it when you lose your temper, I mean, we all lose our temper, mate. I lose it. Everyone loses it. I usually rage quit. That's what I normally do because I just can't be asked even trying to have the discussion. All right, what's the separator I need to get? 3:19:05. What am I doing? Somebody tell me what I'm doing wrong here. I'm trying to put them coordinates in. What am I doing wrong? I don't know if I can zoom into this to make it bigger. Someone tell me what I'm doing wrong because I'm trying to put the coordinates in like Sean's asked, but it's not doing it. So I'm obviously being a bit of a Burke because I've never had to do it this way before. So I'll put the coordinates in 53, 48, 57. Maybe I don't need the decimals. And then 19.05, get rid of that.
The 8-pointed star is Jupiter, so that's like the Jupiter and Moon, the Statue of Liberty there.
Right, so I'm obviously somewhere in, where am I here? Philippines? Is that what I'm meant to do, Sean? Sean, I get the point that you're making that you can change the GPS, but I've not done that. As you can clearly see, I can't even get the coordinates into Google Earth. I struggle getting into Hangouts at the best of times, and I really can't do most of the things that I'm supposed to be able to do at the age of 35. Oh, is that how I need to do it? Right, okay. So 53, 48, 57.
Hey, thanks, Sean.
3:19. It took you to a completely different point of the Earth. I'm guessing that's where it's meant to take me, Sean. I'm guessing it's the middle of fucking nowhere. All right, so it's just off the East Anglia. So let's just see what's meant to be there. I'm guessing there's an oil platform or something. I guess I've done. I mean, I get the point that you're making, Sean, but I probably fucked up the execution. But if that's where it's supposed to, the point that you're making is clearly that you can change metadata. But Sean, listen, I'm not in this to lie. I'm not in, and I know you're not suggesting it, but I've got no reason. I want people to go and verify and validate my own experiment because the reality is I do see Blackpool Tower from there at 30 miles. By the way, Soundy, are you going to present your evidence or not? Is he still in?
Can you hear me? Hello. I've been trying to.
Oh, sorry. We were waiting for you, man.
Well, you said you wanted to do Sean's thing first, so I'll let you do that.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. I've done Sean's thing. I'm not. I kind of fucked up. Maybe I fucked up the execution, but I get the point he's making. Soundly, right? You're presenting to everyone. Let's go to yours. And Sean, I'm not saying that you did claim that we did this. That it can be done. So GPS metadata is not 100% reliable. I didn't know. Yeah, but what I would say, Sean, is that I'm challenging anybody to go back and repeat my experiment to see if they get the similar results. I didn't know it could be changed until a few weeks ago either. I always thought that GPS data was finite. It was perfect. Right. So, Soundly, talk us through this for people that haven't seen this before, because I have seen this before, but talk me through it.
Okay. So, first of all, just for context, I live in the New Orleans, Baton Rouge area. There's a city in between the two called Laplace. And in just south of Laplace, you can see these transmission lines that go across the water. These transmission lines are in line for 16 miles, and in the very back, you can see this very tall tower, right? And this was taken on my Canon Rebel T5 with a 300 millimeter lens. Actually, I'm not sure I'm actually all the way zoomed in on this one, but that's what this was. And this over here is Cara Diane's model that she built in the Unity game engine, and this is a model showing what it would look like if it was curving along the surface of a sphere the size, well, with the radius of Earth's
Soundly,
radius.
Can I interrupt?
And this is what it would look like if it was over a flat plane right here.
Soundly.
So let's see which one looks more like, because I think it's pretty obvious which one it looks more like. So this model right here matches the photograph. So basically, Anthony asked me to take a night shot of this, which I did, and I can share with anybody that wants to to see it.
Yeah, I want to see it.
And then there was also complaints that my camera was shit and that I should get a different one. Well, thankfully, Wolfie 6020 manned up and he actually bought me a P900 and sent it to me. Here's the results with the P900.
Oh, that's quite interesting. Do you see anything unusual about that image?
Only if you're a flat earther. There's curves all through this image.
Right, Ranty.
Even way up here, there's curves.
Right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to invite
curves
Ranty
right
because
here,
Ranty.
way before.
I'm going to invite Ranty Ranting because he's going to make the same. I'm going to invite Ranty Ranting.
Are these raw images?
Observation.
That's a fucking awesome picture, Soundly.
Are they raw images though? Because like if they're not,
so here you go. Right here, the curve starts way the fuck back here, and each one of these pylons is 0.18 miles away from each other. So this is miles and miles and miles and miles back away from the horizon, and it's still curving right here.
Hang on, did you say each pylon was 1.8 miles separated?
The pylons are separated by 0.18 miles.
Oh, 0.18 miles. All right. So how far is this? Then? Have you done the maths to work out how far it is before we start seeing where you've got the two lines that go up in the diagonal? How far is that in terms of that must be about a mile?
Is it me or is it? Say that again.
Seems to be acting a bit daft. I think it's that guy again. Let me just mute Josh because he sounds like he's electrified himself. All right, that's better. The two lines that you put in, the diagonal lines that go from the bottom right up to the top left or towards the top left.
Yep.
Have you done the maths to work out how far it is, the length of them lines?
Those are straight lines. Oh, I don't know. This tower is like not even the first tower, like where I'm zoomed in at. I'm already zoomed way in. So there's a bunch of towers before this one. And these are all 0.18 miles.
6, 7, 8, 9,
apart.
11, 12, 13.
Yeah, there's 80 towers, 80 something, maybe 80, 82. I can't remember exactly. It's over 80 towers all the way from the observation point to the far tower back there.
19 towers at 0.18 of a mile gives you 3.42 miles. So what you're saying is the 3.42 miles that you're seeing curve going up. Are you saying that's where the bulge is?
The bulge would be where the horizon is, right?
I don't know.
It's going to be out here.
I'm just asking how you interpret this. All right, so let's go with the bulge.
What is there to interpret? It's curving.
Everything.
It's curving over the horizon. I mean,
there's a lot to interpret.
If you want to use your eyes, like the Zeteticism method, where you use your eyes and trust your eyes. If you use your eyes and trust your eyes, those towers are freaking going over the horizon.
Right, but listen. Just let me speak, and then you can respond when I've finished. Right. When I did my observations during the day, I dismissed them because we were getting really weird results. That doesn't mean I ignored them. It means that I considered them and rejected them because they were based on weird results. We got disproportionate results. Sometimes we saw what looks like curve, other times we didn't. Sometimes we saw smoky atmosphere, other times we didn't. We were getting wild results. So we dismissed it by day and decided to do it by night. And when we did it by night, you've got these towers and these like the first 19 towers that you had the lines on. And then the remaining towers that go beyond that, which is probably another maybe, 15 or so. We're only talking maybe 5 or 6 miles, which is comparable with the turbines that we saw. And
5 or 6 miles, what? This is 16 miles to this tower right here.
Yeah, but I'm
16
talking
miles to that back tower.
How many? We got 19 pylons in between the band of the yellow lines that you've put in.
There's a whole bunch of other pylons. Look right here. There's a whole bunch of other pylons missing.
I know, but what I'm saying is when we go further beyond 19, so we got 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 26. Oh, no. Can you go back to that image that you had the lines on?
Hold on one second.
Yo, Anthony, do you think the horizon is the vanishing point?
I honestly, do you know what? I would have said yes before now, but I honestly don't know what the fucking horizon is because I see weird shit on the horizon every single time I do observations. Did you get these same results every single time?
Yep.
There was no variation.
I mean, it's curved every single time, man. And various situations I have it in.
I don't mean the curve. I mean the way that would you agree that there appears to be a part where it changes from being like not distorted to being distorted? Right.
Would I agree that there's a mirage? Why do you use these words? I want to ask you that. Why do you use these obfuscating words? Why don't you just say, do you agree there's a mirage on the horizon? Yeah, there's a mirage on the horizon. There's not a mirage right here. There's no mirage right here.
No, well, forget right here. I'm looking at the things in the distance that give us...
So what? What about those? Screw that. What about this curve right here? What about this gigantic curve? What about this gigantic curve? What about this gigantic curve? What about this gigantic curve, Anthony?
Yeah, but my point is, if you look at the curve overall, the curve is even over the whole Earth. Agreed? Generally speaking. Forget about Neil deGrasse Tyson with the...
Certainly over water. It should be pretty consistent, yeah.
Yeah. Would you agree that that's showing signs of a consistent curve or an inconsistent curve?
It looks consistent to me.
I would disagree. P-Mars, would you say that's consistent curve or would you say...
We want to argue about bullshit like that. You're always obfuscating, dude.
No.
Fucking curve, fucking curve, fucking curve, fucking curve. You cannot argue with this shit.
That's
it's
me.
Obvious. It's obvious fucking curve. You can see it with your damn eyeballs.
Yeah, it looks
Go to the spot.
it looks like it's going up over a hump.
Buy a plane ticket, fly to New Orleans, spend a freaking week there on vacation, and go see these damn towers. You can see it with your eyes, Anthony.
I'll come if you put me up.
This is a ruler on the surface of the water.
I'll do
That's
you a
what
deal.
that is. Somebody, some artist, engineer, freaking laid out a ruler just for you.
I'll do you a deal.
So you can see the surface of the water curving. That water is curving. And this isn't the only observation I've made. I've made a shit ton of observations. I've made a shit ton of videos and a shit ton of photographs. And I haven't even released them all. I've just got hundreds.
I'll do you a deal.
Hundreds of curves.
I'll do you a deal. I'll come over to there and do the same observation if you'll come over to mine and do the same observation. We don't have to do it straight away. We can do it in 6 months or 8 months. But if we agree between the two of us that I'll go to you and you come to me, we both do the same thing. I'll validate your experiment, you validate mine, and then we can conclude that we're not being biased. We'll do the same observations as each other. I mean, how many? Where's your nearest international airport?
New Orleans.
Is it relatively close?
Yeah, New Orleans. It's
all right.
Literally New Orleans is where the causeway is. It's where this is. It's right outside New Orleans.
All right. So let's just see if there's a direct flight. If there's a direct flight, I'll do this with you. I'll validate you if you're prepared to validate me.
There's not going to be a direct flight. You're going to have to go through New York, I think.
Well, let me just have a check because you'd be surprised. Manchester airports. Do you know what the code is for New Orleans?
Yeah, I do. I'm got a brain fart going here. Fuck.
Manchester to New Orleans. Let's just see. Manchester to New Orleans. Does it go connecting? No, it's got a connecting, isn't it? So it's tall. Fucking hell! It's a 12-hour flight and it's £1,000. That's a lot. That's a lot for us to do a 3-day trip.
So yeah. So what I suggest you do is you get somebody like this Andrew John guy that's in the area and is a flat earther, and have him and me, team up on a collab. Why don't you reach out to that guy?
I'll reach out.
Could I just ask a couple of questions here? Sorry, it's Ranty here. Do you know what the elevation was when you took this image from? How high you were?
I'm on Interstate 10. It's between 35 and 40 feet. Now, I don't know the exact height because the highway actually rises right there, right by the towers. So it's kind of hard to judge exactly how high it is. I do plan on going out there and taking some measurements from the ground, but it's been hard getting permission. There's actually a guy, another guy on YouTube, Dante Panties is his YouTube handle, and he's actually reached out to the property owners, and we've gotten permission to go underneath the.
So are you capturing all of the towers in this image, or
no? There's other videos. Let me.
No. I'm just asking because the curve appears to start a good way before the horizon.
There's another video where I actually drive past the towers, and in that video you can see all the towers. Now you can't see the bottom of the towers, but you can see all of them.
So I'm just asking because the curve appears to start before the towers go over the horizon. So if that's the case, how can that happen if the curve only starts at the horizon?
The curve doesn't start at the horizon.
Well, of course, I know it doesn't on these images. That's what I mean. But any baller, any baller would tell you that you only start to see curve once you go over the horizon. You don't see it before. If you can watch, you can look at anything up to the horizon, and you can see everything up to the horizon. Over the horizon, things start to go behind the curve. So how are we seeing curve on these pylons before they even reach the horizon?
Let me say something real quick. Sean Hufford says that the street level is 33.2 feet, plus my observer height. So it's probably about 4 feet in the car. So I'd say 37 feet, probably the observer height, somewhere up in there. Why would you? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you would. I mean, basically what you're saying is just not correct. Shit.
Oh right. So things curve.
Hold on a second.
Things go behind the.
Rearrange my windows again. These freaking windows. Hold on 1 second.
I've lost my chat window. Where's it gone?
So no, I didn't admit there was any curve. I said it appears to show curve, but that's just down to perspective. What I'm trying to nail down to the fact is that the curve starts before the horizon.
So gone
over the horizon.
With perspective, straight lines stay straight. So it's not perspective. Yeah, I don't know why you guys keep saying the word perspective.
You can see the horizon where it intersects the pylons. If you bring yourself back around about 20 pylons for then, this is where the curve apparently shows. The curve starts
way back here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. Way back there, yeah. But look where the horizon is. It shouldn't start to curve until it's gone over the horizon. It should
That makes absolutely no sense. That is not
Of course
what
it does.
that is not what the conventional model predicts.
Yes,
period.
it does.
No, it doesn't. There's a consistent curve. It's a ball. It's a fucking ball. It's a consistent curve over the whole surface.
I don't agree. It's consistent. It's wavy. That tells me it's atmospheric. It's not real. It's optical and it's atmospheric.
Of course it is.
Oh my god.
Do you not agree that anything that's
There is no hope for you guys.
So
That's really the whole point though of,
Right, all right. So
of
let me
my
ask you-
videos is just to be able to like whittle down the pile to the seriously hardcore brainwashed flat earthers.
Do
Which
you
I
have
think
any
it's
other
doing.
images? Do you have any other images?
Yes, I have a shit ton of images, but I'm not going to try and show them right now on my screen.
All right, don't bother. But let me ask you this then. Cara Diana's done the model that you based the photos on and you accept to be correct, yeah?
Car Diane, yeah.
Right. When PMARS said that Rob Skiba was a lying piece of shit or whatever the phraseology that he used, and it was challenged on the grounds that he doesn't come across to be a lying piece of shit, the exact same thing can be said about Cara. She challenged me to do something which I did and then claimed that I failed to debunk her when I wasn't expected to debunk her. I was expected to explain it. Which
I actually listened to what you said and then her rebuttal, and I think that you're, again, completely obfuscating the situation. It was completely not the way you laid it out.
Let me address it. I was asked to explain on the flat earth model, and I did. I asked her I challenged her to debunk it. She didn't. She come back with the rhetoric that she cited in the first place and didn't even address the video that I gave her. Yet that's marked as a credible witness. So what I would say is if PMARS is prepared to dismiss Rob Skiba on the grounds that he's a liar without any evidence whatsoever, and I've got credible evidence against Cara for doing fucking nothing to discredit my evidence against the challenge that she gave me. It was completely ridiculous what she responded, and if you accept that to be credible,
hey Anthony,
have you
heard of the genetic fallacy?
Have I heard of
the genetic fallacy?
The genetic fallacy?
Yeah, it's what you're committing right now. Okay.
Really?
It's a freaking model. Who cares where it came from? I don't really give a shit where it came from. It's a model that shows what it would look like on a freaking globe. That's all there is to it. That's all that really matters. Who cares where it came from? I don't care. It's the freaking model that you can replicate yourself in the Unity game engine. Go do it.
Soundly. Let's just say your evidence is credible, reliable, and everything about it's perfect. Why is it not why is it not able to match my observations when you
because you're misinterpreting your observations. I already said this.
So then
should we rehash it again?
So then I ask you to explain how I've misinterpreted it, and you don't give me any evidence other than, well, you're not seeing the whole of the tower.
No, I have. What I've stated quite clearly is that there's no freaking way that water below the tower can obstruct the tower, which is above the water on a flat model. It's not possible.
So that means
in the conversation, you're showing obstruction. It's proof of a globe. That's what you're showing us.
It's proof of tides. We know the tide was at high tide. We know it's at low tide.
Does the tide swamp the tower? Does the tower go underwater at high tide?
Yes, it does.
Or no?
Yes, it does.
The building goes underwater at high tide. Is that what you're claiming?
Well, from that in that position, yes, that's exactly what happens.
Never mind.
Well,
okay. Anybody that's actually watching this right now knows that you are ducking right now.
No. I'm not ducking. I'm challenging why it's not predictable on your model that you claim to be predictable and you can make predictions. Why is it that your predictability does not match the evidence that I've got? The reality is either one of us has got weird evidence, and I would suspect it's you because yours is totally atmospheric. Yours is not showing the curve of the Earth. Yours is showing atmospheric effect and nothing more. Mine is showing no curve, and unless
my hundreds of pictures,
are atmospheric.
Hundreds of pictures and videos, which are consistent throughout all different various situations, different weather conditions, even at night. All of these are all atmospheric. They're all.
Did you take an image straight down the pylons? Straight. Yeah, I mean, literally.
There's a video I just
north, right down the pylons to show how straight they are.
Okay. I keep trying to answer and you keep interrupting me. So yes, there's a video that I released. I've released like a bazillion videos in the last week. And one of those videos is me driving by the pylons and looking straight down the pylons. Yes, it's out there.
Okay, so you had a continuous shot for a length of time where we can analyze this. So I've just not seen your video, that's all. Or was it?
Yeah. I've even put my raws out there. Some of them are unlisted. If you want, whatever you want, tell me what you want. I'll give it to you.
Right, that's okay. I just wanted to. It's nice to know because you live there. You can do this experiment over and over. We take into consideration what people say to us, and then we go out and do what they ask. We're asking, did you actually look down these pylons to show how straight they are and literally have a nice V-shaped clear sky at the end? Because you're using your P900, you should be able to see right through to the other end. Hello?
The video exists. Would you like me to pull it up for you?
Yes, please.
You better play fair with the PMAs.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be coming back in.
Who?
That guy that just came in then. Sandy's getting some evidence, is he?
Yeah, apparently I just asked him to show a video directly down the heart of these pylons so that we could see if there was any curve to the left or the right, or in fact if they actually do go entirely straight for the whole length.
And whilst he does that, whilst he's on mute, I'm gonna show people and my assertion that I want Soundly to try and disprove or prove, whichever. Let me go into my favourites. Okay, my assertion is, I don't know how tall these towers are. Maybe they're, 80 feet, 60 feet. My assertion to Soundly, which you can prove or disprove Soundly if you can, is that what you're showing is atmospheric, and it is no different to what we see here in terms of this land, the Skunk Bay footage, because we see that this land, be it maybe, 80 feet, it's about the same kind of height as your thing because it looks pretty flat overall, but we see that the land in the background here, this peninsula of land, is stretching and shrinking. It's being distorted by atmospheric effect. So my assertion, Soundly, is that because you're looking at something that's quite tall and it is in the atmosphere, it's not on the surface. Yes, some of it's on the surface, but most of it's above the surface. It's subject to atmospheric effect, and it's essentially doing this. And you can't prove that it's the curve of the Earth any more than I can. That you can't prove that it's the curve of the Earth any more than you can't prove that it's not suffering from this effect that we see here. So essentially, yeah, it may well be curve of the Earth, but if it is curve of the Earth, you would expect it to be comparable to my own evidence at 30,000 miles, which is why I consider your evidence and dismiss your evidence, because it's inconsistent with my own. Now, if you don't agree with that, that's fine. But we've collected, like you say, you've collected loads of photos. I've collected loads of photos. Ranty's collected loads of photos from varieties of different things, and we always get the same results. Now, what I'm saying is your pylons are doing this. So the pylons that are further away are stretching and shrinking to do with whatever. Like I said,
have you seen
something else going on
when the wind farms go around? Have you seen when the rotor blades approach the surface of the ocean
and they bend?
They tend to bend quite considerably, and I have a lot of videos of that exact phenomenon happening, and it's always around the horizon that this starts to happen. So I'm wondering if that effect is magnified in this area for some reason.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I think that it's atmospheric what you're showing because the structures that you use are that tall, and I think that what we're seeing is some kind of atmospheric looming or bending or refraction or distraction or fucking upside downness. I don't care, but I think that what you're showing is atmospheric and it's not the curve of the Earth. So what I would say is, how would you prove that it is the curve of the Earth and disprove that it's atmospheric? That's why I said do it at night time.
Which I did.
Where is the foot? Is it on your? Whilst I'm sharing, let me go to your page. Which is the file that's got the,
are you watching this video or
at the moment I'm sharing, but which is the one at night time? Flat Earth cars over the horizon?
No, it's I think it's Flat Earth Tiers 4 or something like that.
Flat Earth what?
Flat Earth Tiers 4 is what I think it is.
Flat Earth Tiers. Flat Earth Tiers 2.
4.
3. I'm looking for 4. Nurse Hack?
No, not Nurse Hack. I'll let me look it up. Damn it.
Sorry. I just thought you might have known it off the cuff. But in any event, though, Soundly, it's inconsistent with my evidence no matter what happens in terms of atmospheric or not, because we should be able to predict that my curvature will be significantly comparable to yours if yours is directly comparable to the ball. Mine's nothing like that. So either something's really wrong with mine atmospherically or something's really wrong with yours atmospherically. Oh, is your account monetized, Soundly?
Yeah, I'm monetized.
Oh, great. Mine's not monetized. Yeah, this Cars Over the Horizon looks like it's done at night time.
It's Flat Earth Tiers 3.
Let's have a look. Flat Earth Tiers 3.
But we're not seeing this, Anthony.
Oh, all right, hang on.
We're just seeing your face.
All right, okay. I thought I'd put it on. Share my screen. Yeah, there you go. So Flat Earth Tiers 3, play that full screen. Right, this is the first time I've ever seen this, so if there's a bit of a pause. Am I in the right place here, by the way?
Yeah, that's straight. That's just straight.
Are you presenting? I think present.
I think so, yeah. Can you not see?
There you go. So there you go.
Straight as
at night, just as you guys.
It's not, it's perspective.
Well, what I would say
no, it's not. The freaking lights are obviously curving. What are you talking about?
What I'd say is the pylons in the foreground don't appear to be rising up like they did on
You're not filming down those pylons,
dude,
mate.
It looks
you're at the side again. If you look to the side of anything,
freaking curved. You are being delusional. Like seriously,
all right.
It's curving.
Let's
just
give it
like it was in the other one.
Soundly,
don't try and deny that it is curving. Look at the freaking lights; they're curving.
I'll give it you. You can have it, right? Let's make your model predictable, and let's predict what it should be on mine. If yours matches the ball model that Cara showed you, why does mine not? What am I doing wrong in terms of my observation? Because yours clearly shows curve, and we'll give it you for the sake of this discussion, why is it not the same with me? You said that I'm misinterpreting it, but let's go back to my image. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Where's the misinterpretation? 30 miles, the tower's supposed to be obscured almost all of it.
Anthony, how many of those pictures do you have?
How many have we got, Ranty?
70, maybe 100.
All right. Put them all in a Google Drive folder and give everybody the GPS coordinates for where they were and let people analyze them. That's all there is to it.
How many have we got GPS?
That's what I've done. I've put my raws in Google Drive folders. Anytime anybody asks, I put them in a Google Drive folder and just let people look at them.
How many of them have got GPS coordinates, Ranty?
No idea.
See, if they've not all got GPS, we can't do that because they'll be demanded, because 6 of them may not have it and 20 of them may have it and whatever. But the reality is that we're getting repeatable observations that are doing the same thing. Now, on this particular image...
Yeah, they're showing obstruction. I agree. Repeatable observations that are showing obstruction.
Yeah,
Good job. You proved the gloves.
Soundly, it's in the wrong place. If your evidence is reliable and credible and it's predictable, why is it not giving us the curve in the right place? Because the curve is supposed to be up here.
Probably because you're not taking the picture from where you think you are.
Then the conversation stops there, doesn't it?
I mean, if you can't acknowledge that the tower is being obstructed, there's really nowhere else to go with it. I mean, the tower is obviously being obstructed.
How is it being obstructed?
Hang on. Let's give him that. Let's give him
the building that's below the tower. The gigantic building that's below the tower is not.
Yeah, and you think that should be lit up in the pitch blackness from 30 miles away?
I think that you can clearly see the horizon right there, can't you?
No. I'm just answering your question. You said that you can't see the concrete building that it's sat upon.
Yeah, but hang on. Regardless of
miles away, do you think it's luminous and has light shining all over it? The only thing that actually shines. If you watched my video, we have a video from the roller coaster at nighttime of Blackpool Tower, and the only thing that can be seen in the location of Blackpool Tower is the actual purple on the metal frame of Blackpool Tower. Nothing else. So that is totally consistent with what we saw and with what we saw from the video that was posted online of Blackpool Tower.
Listen, Soundly, the bigger issue is if the model that you rely on...
If you want to compare yours to mine, okay, mine basically has this gigantic ruler that somebody has placed on the surface of the water where you can see as the curve curves, you can see it happening, okay? You have basically, a single point of reference there, or maybe two because you have the roller coaster. You can't see any of the observation in between you and the tower. So you don't know what's actually happening there.
Yeah, but what that tells us...
I'm going to tell you is that it's what's happening is your tower is being obstructed. That's what's happening.
Hang on. The tower is being obstructed only on the Google Earth model. If your model is reliable, credible, and predictable like you claim it is, why are we not getting the same results where it should be there? How is that explained?
I'll go back to my original point on this. Okay. I don't know anything about this picture, but except for one thing, is that if that is Blackpool Tower, like you're saying it is, then it's being obstructed. Okay. It's being obstructed, then it can't be a flat model. Okay. So that falsifies the flat model. So now we're talking about any other models but flat model.
Yeah, but you're not addressing my point.
So if you want to talk about the bigger Earth model, okay, we can talk about that.
No, hang on, listen.
But if you want to talk about flat model versus globe model,
I've already said I'll give you the obstruction there.
Let's say falsified by this picture.
Soundly,
the flat model has been falsified by this picture right here.
Soundly, I've already said you can have the curve there if you want. If you want the obstruction there, I'll give it you. My question is, why is it not there? Because that's where it's meant to be on the predictable ball Earth.
I don't know. What was the atmospheric conditions? Where were you actually located?
What was your
atmospheric? Give me all the inputs.
It doesn't matter where it was.
What was the observer height?
Listen, it doesn't matter where it was.
You didn't even know your observer height. You just said 30 to 40 feet and had to rely on someone else to tell us.
Yeah, that's a really good. That's all you need to know. 30 to 40 feet. All you need to know is 30 to 40 feet. And because I know the exact distance to that tower, so between 30 and 40 feet, I can tell you. I can tell you what the range was.
Hang on. Stop. The guy. Listen, Ranty, wait. The guy that's done this illustration is Mick West from Metabunk, okay? He knew all the facts. He knew what we were doing. So in terms of somebody to verify what we should see, you don't get any better than the self-proclaimed authority that is Mick West. This isn't me doing this. This is Google Earth through Mick West, okay? And do you know what he had to do to make it match that observation? He had to raise his elevation to 50 meters in height on Google Earth to get it to match. And the only reason is because
Sounds
Google
like he
Earth...
had some serious refraction going on that day.
Well, that's what he says. But when we look at...
Because that's the answer. That's what's happening.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said said that because let me show you what refraction is according to the authorities that should not be.
Refraction causes things to rise
You know
higher,
what it does?
to see things further away. Do you know what it does? Because didn't you want to turn around and claim that refraction is causing my towers to lower? So which one is it? Do things get higher or do they lower due to refraction?
This is Magic Mix's website, okay? And in it, he says that standard
does refraction cause things to lift up, Anthony, or do they cause things to go down? Which one is it?
I'll come back to it in a sec. Remind me in a minute when I've made my point, because you were the one that said this was refraction, and now you've said that. Let me explore this, okay? This is the self-proclaimed authority known as Mick West. You see that 7/6 times R? Yeah, that's called average refraction. No, it's called standard. It's called standard refraction.
Standard refraction. That's right, and that represents the average that you can expect to see on like a normal day.
No, actually,
so there are other days. There are other days when you're going to see extreme instances of refraction.
Actually, standard refraction is a self-professed claim that Mick admits that he's the authority for. That's what he's admitted in.
Okay, ask Geodesys about that.
All right.
Mick is not the author of that, and he did not admit that.
Do you want to bet? I'll show you where he actually says it. Just bear with me. Is this fraud or honest mistake? Bear with me. Let me get to the point, and you'll hear him say the words. I challenged him and said, on whose authority? And he says, mine. Listen.
Agreed. Related concepts.
Agreed. But the problem is you cite standard refraction as observing stars. Actually, what you should be saying is standard atmospheric refraction is terrestrial refraction, not observing stars, because we are not observing anything that's in space. We're observing
you still use standard refraction. The 7/6 radius is still used it's still appropriate for observation of stars.
Says who?
Says me.
Right. So he's just said that you still use the 7/6 calculation for the observations of refraction. We're talking about refraction, and I said, says who? And he says me. Okay. So he's a self-proclaimed authority for standard refraction based on 7/6 of the radius of the Earth.
Oh my God. You take things that people say like humans normally talking, and you take them out of context and they try and twist it. That is hilarious, dude.
How is it out of context?
And the whole time, like the thing that you said before was even more hilarious. Like, are you serious right now?
He was asked a point blank question.
Yeah, because he knows the answer to it. That's why he says it.
Right. All right. So
he says me because he knows the answer.
Let's see if it's true. So based on his self-proclaimed 7/6, right? Let's see if that's true. 7/6 is an arc. Do you agree? 7/6 of the radius of the Earth is an arc. Yes or no?
What are you talking about? 7/6 is a fraction.
The standard refraction per mile is based on 7/6 of the radius of the Earth. By definition, that creates an arc. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Are you? Let me ask you something. Are you looking at 7/6 times R?
Hang on,
because that's not an arc, right?
I'm asking you: is 7/6 of the radius an arc? Yes or no?
No, 7/6 of the radius is a distance.
No, it's an arc. It's an arc.
It's a distance. Radius is in miles. Any number times any other number in miles is a distance.
Let's see what happens at 30 miles in my case. 4 feet in height. We see that at 30 miles, we see standard refraction based on this gives us a refracted hidden at 429 compared to 506. We'll drop it down to 29 miles, and instead of being 4, whatever it was, it drops down to 480, and we can do it to 28, and it goes down from 480 to 448, and then 27 to 416, and 26, 26, 386.
So what we should ask Mick to do, okay, is we should ask Mick to make the refraction a variable. So then you can enter in your refraction. You can change your refraction and figure out how much refraction you had on that day.
I agree, absolutely, and that's what I've challenged him to do. Make it a variable.
Challenge him? That's not a challenge for him.
Hang on. He claims on his website that standard refraction is an approximation of the refraction expected under standard atmospheric conditions. Bear in mind he's talking about an arc. Let's see what he claims to be a comparison. He talks about the international standard atmosphere, and in this it talks about a vertical pressure variation. Now my problem is he's described maths based on 7/6 of the radius of the Earth, which is an arc, but he's claiming he's actually basing his maths on a vertical pressure variation, which is what you and I have just agreed.
I want to state this again because you have this constant problem of obfuscating. And
why is it obfuscating?
7/6 times radius is going to be a distance.
No, it's not going to be a distance.
What is 7/6? Okay, what is any number x times any number in miles? It's going to be x times that number in miles.
You and I have just agreed.
Distance. That is a distance.
Let me just play back what we and you have just agreed. Let me just play it back.
Hang on, could I jump in here, Anthony, and share my screen?
Wait. Let me get this sorted because I want to quote soundly based on what.
All right. I've got to go, guys. But
see you later. Thanks for stopping by, Soundly.
I feel like we're just talking in circles. Like you don't. For some reason, 7-6 radius is
cornered by your own gift guy.
No, this would be important. This I would like Soundly to answer this actually.
No, fucking leave.
Fuck me, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because I have life to attend to.
See you later, Soundly. Thanks for dropping by. Right.
Well, could you share my screen then, Anthony?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me when you're sharing.
Right. You should be on present to everyone.
Okay. Right. Okay. So here's my going back to Soundly. Soundly was say here, and he was looking at his pylons going out over the ocean, and he said that he saw them go over the horizon and curve. Is that true? So he's looking
18 miles. So the line that you.
So he's looking 18 miles down here, and they start to curve and go over the horizon. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'm on Google Earth, and as I'm looking along the x-axis here, we see the curve of the Earth. Okay. So not only do we also know that we're getting curve going this way, north to south, we're also getting curve going east to west.
Yeah.
So he said, because we live on a ball, so we go from here to here and here to here. There's curve everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Now, I took an image from the top of Blackpool Tower. It was one of maybe 100 that I did, but it was exactly where Mick West asked me to do it. And basically, this was the angle of sight that I actually captured, which was looking over here. So my image cut from here all the way across here, all this ocean to here. And I was able to work that out with the use of this actual tool, which is Google Earth. It turns out that the distance from here to here, which is the ocean, which was caught on the horizon, was 21 miles. And on my video, I show that across this 21 miles of ocean from here to here, there isn't a single pixel of curve. Now then, if we live on a ball Earth, and this is the ball Earth model, because obviously it's going to curve that way, and it's going to curve this way, you would expect me capturing 21 miles of ocean from there to there, you would see the same curve that you would expect to see from here to here.
Correct.
It turns out that you could fit a lighthouse here and a lighthouse there. In actual fact, the curve from here to here should have been 237 feet. But using their argument against them and going from the z-axis from here to here, which was, I think, 12.33 miles, it turns out that the hidden should have been about 87 feet. So from here to here, which I measured, and I also measured from here to here, put the straight line across, there wasn't a single drop of curve. So if he's seeing measurable curve this way at 19 miles, and I'm seeing not a single ounce of curve going this way across the horizon line, yet Google Earth shows that it should be curved because we live on a ball. And it makes sense it should be curved this way because we live on a ball. So why aren't we seeing it? Does it just curve one way?
It's not there, mate. Does
it just curve this way? Or why doesn't it curve this way as well? So, do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, and I agree there is no curve there. What Soundly is seeing is an atmospheric effect on whatever them towers are, them pylons. That's what he's seeing. What he's not seeing is the curve. He's seeing distortion caused by refraction. That's truly what refraction is. It's not bending light around the curve of the Earth. It's obscuring what we see, consistent with that which I didn't rage quit him. I kicked you. I kicked you because you were cornered and you were being a bitch.
Well, I'd have liked for him to have stayed in.
Do you know what? He was pissing me off because every time I said something that went against his perception, he claimed that I was obfuscating. Yeah, but I was doing it with evidence, mate. Soundly, if you've got a life, mate, go and enjoy your life. Off you go.
I saw actually an interesting piece of. I'm not a sphere earther, but I saw an interesting piece of flat Earth evidence like a week ago. If you want to present me for 15 seconds here.
Sure. Go on, share your screen.
I'll just present my camera.
Sure.
You exposed, bitch. You exposed. If you got no games, you exposed, bitch. You exposed. You exposed.
Why am I presenting?
I don't know. I think PMars is meant to be presenting something. Now that's where PMars is like. When he claims that he's not being a Burke and he does stuff like that, come on, P-Mars, play fair, man. Josh, I don't know what you're doing with your cable, mate, but you click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. Well, I guess we're all pretty much wrapped up. I mean, I am FaZe. Have you got anything to say? Soundly, you've never thrashed me. Soundly, come back to me, right, when you can prove that the imagery that you see is caused by curvature. Remember that thing called causation? And show me why it's inconsistent with my own evidence. Either my evidence is wrong or yours is. So one or the other, but either way, you've got two issues to deal with. So I am FaZe. Anything to say?
No, man, just about the pictures that you guys were showing earlier. Like, are you having are you discussing pictures that you've seen raw images of, or are you just taking everyone's just assuming that everyone's being honest with the pictures that they have?
I was accepting his evidence as being raw, even though it might not have been the raw file because he's on a P900. We're both using P900, so we've both got to accept JPEGs as compressed information. compressed evidence, and therefore there is an issue with it technically, but I don't think either of us have actually been fucking around with it. So I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that he's fucked with it, although it kind of does look like that, but I don't think he has done that. I think it's atmospheric. But on the basis that we're both using P900s, that neither of which can record in RAW, I think we should both accept that both people's evidences are credible unless there's evidence to the contrary.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think Soundly ran away before I got a chance to get stuck into him with the evidence of the 21 miles over the horizon.
No, Soundly got kicked. He didn't run away. To be fair to Soundly, he didn't. I got pissed off with him because he was cornered and he was wriggling and he said he had to leave. And he's a coward. So essentially, Soundly didn't get kicked. But the reality is, for fuck's sake, Anthony, raw and raw are not the same thing in this context. Raw is the correct term indirectly off the camera. Depends on what the context was, Sean. I got the impression he was asking .raw rather than raw with a little. What did you mean, Iron Face? Did you mean raw as in unedited, or did you mean? Oh, he's gone. Right, Isa. Let's see. Anthony Riley got triggered and kicked him. No, I didn't get triggered and kicked him. I kicked him because he was being a Burke. Right, let's wrap it up, Ranty, because I've got stuff that I want to do. So we can wrap it up. 130 viewers. Thanks very much for coming, guys. Whether Tim won me or not is debatable. Whether Soundly won me or not is debatable. But the reality is, we both got evidence that conflicts with each other. Opinions aside, interpretations aside, you guys have got to interpret the evidence the way you see fit. And the reality is, none of us fucking know whether we live on a ball or not, because there's evidence that goes both ways, and none of us know. So have a great day. Go and get a rum and coke, and I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of my evening. And I encourage everybody to do the same. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you again soon.